So you just flew in here this morning from Oklahoma?
Yeah, from Tulsa.
You were down there chasing turkeys?
Yep, I sure was. A lot of chasing, no killing, unfortunately.
Shooting?
Actually,
Any shooting?
Yeah, oh yeah, I did some shooting.
Who you were down there at the Mountain Op cruise? Who was down there from Mountain Ops?
Matt.
Matt, the bodybuilder?
He's a big dude.
He's stout, ain't he?
Yeah, he's a big dude. Appropriate for Mountain Ops, you know.
I mean, poster child.
Very cool dude. It was the first time I got to meet him, and I'm a big fan. He's a good dude.
Awesome guy. That whole company, the whole culture of that company is just neat out of Utah, and they're just all about outdoors, conservation, family,
Totally.
and easy to work with, and on top of it, a great product.
Yep.
I don't consider them a Me Too product. I think they're innovative, and the things that they're coming out with right now, from their sleep aids and remedies to
That's my favorite. The slumber.
the slumber is so awesome.
I swear to God, I'm out of it right now, and I was hoping that those guys brought some slumber, because I'm the type of guy who just can't stop. My brain's always running at night. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting there, just like, all right, I need 5 hours of sleep. And my brain's just going. So slumber, honestly, is kind of rock star for me.
Yeah, and you test it. When they sent it to me the first time, I'm the same way. Type A personality. I lay down thinking I'm tired, but the next thing I know, I'm grabbing my phone or a notepad and I'm writing down notes of what I'm thinking about for the next day or something. Just whatever, strategizing, whatever it is. And that stuff, man, it really puts you at ease and makes you feel just like, hey, you can just let go now.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what I like about that company, is that they're always thinking outside the box and being pretty innovative. So they're in Oklahoma, and in traditional style turkey hunting, going out in the evening, roosting a bird, putting a bird to bed, and then going in there and trying to hunt them off the roost in the morning.
Yeah, totally. So I went down there with my bow, and that was my goal to hopefully kill 2 with my bow. But it's late season. It was late season. We finished up in the last week of the Oklahoma season, so all these birds had been hunted before, and it was tough. It was really tough. A lot of times the toms would come in, see the decoy, or hens would see the decoy and literally go the other way. So we pretty much reaped all the birds that we got in. The guide, this guy to Austin Land, super cool dude. I was pretty much right behind him. I would actually grab onto his shirt, so I felt like a Marine, you know what I mean? That's how the dudes do it, I rolled in behind him, and, we got as close to the birds as we could, but it was tough. It's it's a good way to sharpen your hunting skills overall.
Yeah, that reaping's kind of like spot and stalk and turkey. And the idea behind it is, if you're calling and you're, in the traditional sense of turkey hunting, you sit down or you run and gun where you cut a bird, you hear them gobble. And in turkey hunting, you're reversing Mother Nature, as we all know.
Right.
In nature, the hens go to the gobbler.
Yep.
Well, we're trying to reverse that and get the gobbler to come to a hen call most of the time.
Right.
And, the use of calling and then decoys, a lot of guys use like a Jake decoy on top of a breeding hen. Or they might have a tom out there that's all fanned out, and they're trying to intimidate another boss tom around that area.
Yep.
So instead of doing that, you tried that for a little bit, is what you're saying. It wasn't panning out, so you start getting behind the fan and crawling on them.
Exactly. And a lot of times, it's like you can get the birds to gobble, and sometimes it's just about finding the right bird in the right mood. You know what I mean? So I think our main goal was to just get inside of his comfort, like his bubble. They'll gobble, but then once you kind of get right in where they, that you're sounding loud enough, then kind of, stuff can kind of happen. But for the most part, we were reaping it. We were coming right up with a fan and trying to get a reaction out of them, trying to get them mad to charge in or at least get in close enough for a shot.
Were they charged? Were they being pretty aggressive and territorial?
No.
They weren't even
No,
doing
they
that?
weren't. No, it was more like we were just more or less using it to get in as close as we can, like hiding behind the fan, and using that also. We split the fan and we could look through it, to see kind of, what was going on. But it was tough.
Yeah, I mean, all over the country was tough this year. Starting in the South, I've talked to guys that, were hunting Tennessee, Arkansas, or Alabama, Arkansas, all that entire southeastern part of the country. It was cold and flooding down there and still icing up at times, really heavy frost at the beginning of turkey season.
Yep.
And what happens is that just tells a turkey that, hey, everything's starting a little bit later. So when you were in Oklahoma last week, I was in Iowa,
right
north of you, and there was, I don't know, usually by that time of the year, there should be 70 to 80% of the hens bred, they were telling me.
Yep.
Every time we had a gobbler interested, we would literally hear a live hen call him off of us.
Right.
It'd be like, they'd be gobbling their heads off, and we're thinking, oh, it's getting ready to happen. And then you'd hear, and they just filter off with them. And so that was telling me that it was just one of those deals to where, like you're saying, if you found the right bird and you had an opportunity, But again, it was just all in a nutshell. Turkey season 2018 was weird, and I know my buddy Brett down in Florida had a pretty successful Osceola season. But so your dad, so Oklahoma, and was that your first turkey hunt of the season? I know you're getting ready.
Yeah,
to
that was exactly. That was my first of the season. I just literally finished up my snowboard season. I just got back from Iceland, so I still got my my winter coat on, and it was actually the perfect trip to kind of set snowboarding aside for a little bit and get into some hunting. You
went from shredding in Iceland to coming to Oklahoma and calling spring turkeys.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of funny. Yeah, I know. It's totally random. Everyone who follows me on Instagram, I'm like, yeah, I'm in Iceland, and then I'm out in Oklahoma turkey hunting with my bow. People are like, what the?
Well, you kind of let it out of the bag, guys. We're it's another podcast here at This Life Ain't for Everybody, and we have a good friend and a pretty much just a badass athlete, Olympic athlete, X Games athlete, big air winner, Scotty Lago. He's responsible for representing the United States in the Olympics in the field of snowboarding. He won the bronze medal for America. He's won gold, silvers, and bronzes all across the board in different contests within the X Games. I'm going to let him talk more about that as we go on. But again, here we are with the hunting lifestyle that brings two completely opposite, I wouldn't say personalities, but lifestyles together. I grew up right in the mountain, Scotty, of of Lake Tahoe. And you've
I come here all the time. Tahoe's great.
And I didn't grow up skiing,
right?
So but then me and you we met through a sponsor that we were both part of back in the day, and we hit it off in Kansas. We meet there for a mallard hunt, you and myself and Keith Allen and Chris Cummings, and the rest is history.
Yep. I still look back on that hunt, and I learned so much. We got to do it again.
Well, we're talking today at lunch about different places that we can meet this year and experience that again of the power of ducks. And to me, you tell me if I'm wrong, but turkey hunting's cool, and I like it. I can jive with it, but there's just something about being able to sit in a blind with your buddies and talk and be a little bit boisterous. And
it's great.
And then still experience the power of Mother Nature.
Totally.
What I mean?
It's a perfect little break for me because I do a lot of archery hunting. Season opens up September 15th. So I've been sitting in a stand for, a solid 20 days by myself, and when duck season opens up, I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot wait. You get up, you're going out with your buddies, you can talk, all of a sudden, when the ducks coming in, all right, shh, and it's a really good break from bow hunting too.
Yeah, and bow hunting and turkey hunting are kind of the same. You're by yourself most of the time. You're quiet.
Yep.
Or obviously with bow hunting deer, you have to pay more attention to your wind and your scent and all of that because they're using their sense of smell a lot more than turkey doesn't even use it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If turkeys could smell, you would never kill one.
Yeah, their eyesight's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
And when you start to as a duck hunter, you can get away with if you're in timber, you can kick water and time it right because the ducks aren't going to see you or they hear that thrashing of the water and it's natural to them.
Right.
You can move around in the blind because you're more covered or you're in the shadows.
Yep.
Turkey hunting, you got to be on your A game to read their body language, their posturing, and know I can move right now or I can shift my gun a little bit because I think the tom's going to come in from a different direction. Or there's just so much that goes into it, and it really does test your hunting skills.
Right. It's good. I think it's all around a good, it just kind of hones your hunting skills a little bit. You gotta be quiet. You gotta make a good shot. You gotta be good at calling. All of the above.
And when you talk about honing your hunting skills, are you at this point in your life right now? Are you dedicated to your craft and your skills as an outdoorsman? Is that what you're trying to improve on every day?
Absolutely. I love it. I'm always researching. I think some of the funnest stuff. I love learning. I love learning about the animals and different techniques. I'm from the East Coast, so it's actually almost hard for me to relate to what you guys do. You guys get into so many ducks. It's like I got to work so hard for a limit. When I get a limit, it's a great day. It's an unbelievable day. And just different techniques all across the country. It's I love it. Definitely one of my biggest passions for sure.
and you're even talking now that you're starting to get into land development, and you own a really pretty piece of property in the state of New Hampshire, and you're starting to really, farm that and manicure that for wild game. And what are you talking about? Are you talking food plots and cutting shooting lanes? Are you building it for waterfowl? What do you got going on that property?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of everything. I bought the property pretty much for my own little chunk of land. So I'm doing some food plots. I've done food plots for the last couple of years, but now I brought in some people from some wildlife management specialists and from the University of New Hampshire. Kind of had the pros come in, walk the land with me, also with a forester. So I'm doing a lot of a little bit selective cutting, a lot of work with a chainsaw. I've tried planting some Japanese millet because I have some flooded zones in some white oaks and stuff like that. So we get a lot of wood ducks in there. And I really want to suck some mallards in. For whatever reason, mallards never come to that little section of land.
Right.
So I do everything I can to bring the birds to play.
And are you ready to give up what you've done? I mean, literally, you've been a staple in the competitive snowboard world for so long.
Yep.
And if people follow you or look you up at this point and they just look at some of the images of you, the places you've been, the guys you've competed with, the victories you've won, the close calls that you've lost, the injuries that you've faced, just the it's easy for us to watch the Olympics and see you and the guys flying off these half pipes and doing these insane tricks, right? Or like Tony Hawk back in the day and skaters and Pal and Peralta, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it ingrains you. Like you're literally training nonstop. You have to be in tremendous shape to do what you're doing.
I mean, I wouldn't even, I don't even like the word train because it's literally a lifestyle. I grew up doing, that's all I've ever known and cared about. And to be great at something, I believe that you have to love it because to be great at something, you have to dedicate yourself so much. And if you find it to be a job, you're just not going to put the effort. And then that's what really separates the good guys from the great guys. That and the mental game is obviously one of the biggest, I believe.
And so what were your strong points as a competitor?
Not the mental game.
You were mentally weak?
No, I mean, some people thrive under pressure and sometimes I did, but a lot of times I kind of cracked under pressure. I would win a lot of practices. I would win a lot of qualifiers. And then, sometimes I would kind of blow it. A lot of times I would fall on my last hit, And it's, it's like the most heart-wrenching thing when you fall in the contest. Like you dedicated like that week, to landing these 2 runs, And, when you fall in the contest, it's just like, oh my God. It kind of felt like when I missed that turkey the other day in Oklahoma.
Kind of relating it to back.
I was like, this actually feels like me falling in a contest.
Well, it is because you're as a competitor, and I don't like to bring the word competitiveness into hunting, but when you're mano-a-mano with that animal, all right, and we think we have the advantage because we have all this high tech gear and guns and bows and everything that we've established ourselves as the top of the food chain. And it's awesome to me that we still get humbled. And to me, I'm looking at it in your space. It's got to feel good sometimes to be humbled by that mountain because otherwise you wouldn't do it as much. I mean, humility from that mountain has to keep you going. I'm going to get back on that mountain someday.
For sure. It's a great motivator. You know what I mean? It's a great motivator. I think, your biggest lessons come from your failures, So like every time that I would fall in a contest or whatever, I'd be like, all right, why did I fall? Look at everything, Did I choke? Do I really just actually physically need to practice this trick more? Did I overamp? Was I going bigger than I was? A lot of times I would overamp. I'm like, all right, I would just kind of go a little bit psycho. I would go bigger than I was in practice, which kind of defeats the purpose of practice. You know what I mean? I should be doing exactly what I'm doing in practice. So, but I got lucky a few times too. So,
so
it all comes,
full circle.
Wins and exactly. Full circle.
But you say you got lucky a few times, but I mean, to be on the podium and hear the national anthem and you are an Olympic medalist, that doesn't just happen, right?
No.
X Games medals don't just happen because it's the cream of the crop, the best of the best in the world. The X Games is an accumulation of the best snowboarders, the best action sports stars in the world, whether it's the Summer X Games or the Winter X Games. You can't just go in there and say, I need some luck.
Yeah, totally. I mean, X Games, actually, believe it or not, is I mean, it's every year, but they actually have the biggest and best riders. You know, Olympics is like, all right, you can only bring 4 U.S. guys. In all reality, there's way more than 4 U.S. guys who are in contention for medaling. And so, other countries like Norway and Canada and Japan, they're all stacked. So, a contest like X Games has literally just the best of the best. So there's a lot of weight, and it's a big contest for sure.
And give me a little bit of your history in the X Games. I mean, I could sit here and when I read some of this stuff about what you've done, I mean, you've taken first place in you've won several gold medals in big air contests, including the X Games. You won the super pipe in X Games and the gold medal.
I actually won they did it was almost like the equivalent of like the best tail whip. I did that at like Summer X Games. They did the best method, so I won that. That was all like fan voted and semi judged. I got a silver in slope style. I think Shaun won. I got second, and Mikkel Bang, who's my favorite rider, got third. That's pretty much the only time I beat him. So I just casually said that in the interview. I've got bronze in X Games, and then I got another silver, I think.
Yeah, you've won two. You've won a silver in the super pipe too in X Games in Aspen in 2011. What is the super pipe? Is that just what you see in the Olympics, the half pipe event?
Yeah, exactly. It's just half pipe, but originally when it used to be an 18-foot. So when it stepped up to a 22-foot, we're like, oh, what do we call it now? Oh, a super pipe, So that's just, just half pipe.
Was that a hard adjustment to make?
No, not at all. I remember actually before it even was at 18, I was a little kid. I've been doing this for a while, And one of my idols, Terry Hawkinson, who's still unbelievable at snowboarding, complete legend, super talented, just kind of one of those, like he's, Norway Viking blood type guy. I remember coming up to him and he's like, like 18-foot walls were just coming into it, they're big walls. He's like, it just feels, small. I want it to be bigger, And I remember me riding up the walls. It felt like it took me like a minute to get to the top, and I was just so scared of how big the half pipe was, and I was so amazed that he said that he wanted it to be bigger. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's crazy.
Literally, he had to be.
No, he was just so damn good,
He's just that much talent.
Yeah.
Now, was he back in the days of like Sean Palmer and Terry Kidwell?
Exactly. Yep. That generation. He was above, younger than Kidwell, but right in Palmer's generation.
So like Mini Shred Palmer, he's a legend around this area.
Oh yeah, Shaun Palmer is a legend for sure.
I mean, he's done it in snowboarding and in racing and in all of his X Games pursuits. I mean, he's kind of like that all around action star as well.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
And
a badass. I mean, like
great dude.
He'll be at the top of the half pipe. Well, back in the day, no one really does this anymore because the level of competition is just way too intense. But this is actually when maybe snowboarding was probably cooler. He would literally slug beers at the top of the half pipe before he would drop, and then he would go and win. Or like he would be doing a border cross and be so far ahead on the last jump. He would do like a 7 or like kick out a sick method or 3. You know what I mean? Like just to have that style. Like you're way out in front, you hit the jump at the end and do something cool. He had a lot of style.
Yeah, and he had that flair and he had that personality that when you watched him snowboard, he was gravitating and he was engaging to where there's certain athletes that do that to you in the history of sports. In my case, there was a lot of athletes that I would watch growing up that would bring me into where I wouldn't miss anything that they did, whether it was Mike Tyson, there was Magic Johnson, there was Michael Jordan, there was George Brett. There was guys in a bunch of different sports, and then in the action sports, even though I sucked at everything that I ever tried, I used to live and die Christian Hosoi and Tony Hawk and Mike McGill and Steve Caballero and Lance Mountain and then
Bones Brigade,
the whole Bones Brigade, Powell and Peralta, and then you go into motocross and you had Ricky Johnson and Jeff Ward and Sean Carmichael and all of the guys that were just they wanted to make you watch that sport, and that's what guys like you do. So and Mini Shred had that, but when you watch a guy with a lot of passion do what he's good at, that's why when I can kind of see it in your face when I talk about medals, you don't really you don't care. You like to win.
No, honestly, I do. And it's something cool to say. You know what I mean? And a lot of my career, but the biggest thing for me, what drives me, honestly, is to have the respect of my peers. Like, I want like a rider like Mikkel Bang or Terry Hawkinson to be like, that was sick. You know, like that literally motivates me. And I swear to God, like it's awesome to win a contest, but that's not my motivation. You know, that helps with sponsors and you know what I mean? It's cool and it's fun. Don't get me wrong. There's no better feeling when you land a contest or, you know, get on the podium. But that's what motivates me at snowboarding. I want the respect of my peers and, I want to push myself in snowboarding and, you know, get better. It's fun.
So then it does matter though, that when you go down your accreditations in your credentials as a snowboarder, you've won a lot more than what you really share. Like if you talk about the Dew Tour, would you consider yourself you were one of the most successful riders from from 08 until 12, 13. I mean, you won several medals in the Dew Tour. What's the difference? Is the Dew Tour an accumulation of the top riders too?
Yeah, Dew Tour is the same thing, you know. The only reason why the Dew Tour is maybe not as big as X Games is just because it doesn't have the, you know, ESPN backing of it. You know, it was like NBC or whatever, you know. It's like you got X Games. It's like, that's such a big deal because there's so much TV time that comes with it. You know, the sponsors. It's like you do well. You could like fall in every contest and like be a bum, but you go out and you win X Games and then you get hurt after that or whatever, your sponsors still are like, you know, extremely pumped with you.
Really?
Yeah, because you know millions of kids are watching you, and you know it's a super influential group who actually buys the stuff that you know that they see you wearing and riding.
And you were consistently on the podium in the Dew Tour, and then that turned in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that turned into a strong bond with Mountain Dew, the brand, where they became a huge sponsor of yours for several years.
Yep, totally. I was part of Mountain Dew, had a lot of energy drink sponsors. Hell, I was sponsored by this company called Rip It. Let's see it. Naked Juice, Rockstar, Mountain Dew. It just kind of comes with action sports, you know.
Yeah. So you were a Rockstar athlete at one time too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
Did you ever do any crossover sports, or was it always snowboarding?
No, never, nothing crossover. You know, I mean, I always had my passions, my hobbies and stuff I would do on the side, but I would never consider that crossover. I used to race BMX when I was little, and I played every team sport as well, but yeah.
So answer this question the best that you can. I've always wondered this. What is it that has made Shaun White, the longevity of his career? Was he just that much better than everybody, or did he work that much harder than everybody, or is luck involved, or what made him? I know that you've competed against him a ton.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of Shaun White, and what did he bring to the sport of snowboarding?
Sure. Well, first of all, Shaun's extremely talented. He is. Yeah, he's extremely talented. He's one of the best boarders ever. He started off skateboarding. He's super good at skateboarding. He's probably going to try for the Olympic team when skating comes, you know, in the next Olympics. So what separates him from the rest of the pack is kind of two of those things. You know, he's extremely dedicated. Is like one of the most competitive people that I've ever met. And his mental game. I mean, he's one of the most clutch. Honestly, I want to put him in the highest caliber of all athletes, all sports. I really do. I'm so damn impressed by his snowboarding and his mental game and his clutchness. You know, he can really just bring it when he needs to bring it.
So, as a competitor of his, you never took anything away from him. He had your respect as one of his peers, one of his competitors.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I had, you know, of course, you got to respect Shaun. You know,
So are you at the top of the half pipe doing what Mini Shred Palmer used to do? And are you guys joking and riffing up
Yeah,
there?
exactly.
And
we are.
Doing that, and Shaun is too? He's back and forth?
No,
or is he just like...
That's what separated Shaun.
He was just in his
so
tunnel.
he was, he's a loner, you know. Shaun's a total loner, you know. We would all be hanging out at the top, and that also helped with nerves, too. If we're sitting around joking and stuff like that, you know, that helped me with my nerves. You know, if I was there being by myself, I did the worst. You know, I got kind of inside my head, you know, you kind of tense up a little bit. You know, staying loose and hanging and chatting with your friends was a good thing. And then also it's fun. You know, it's like we're all competing against each other, but at the same time, you're really competing against yourself. I mean, like you have the tricks that you have, and, you know, it's a judge sport. So You know, it's not like racing or you know, fighting or anything like that. I don't know, you know. But Shaun was very competitive, and he kind of looked at it like that, you know. It kind of does, you know. So I think that's what separates him, and that's what makes him, you know, one of the best.
So at the caliber you were at, do you ever think like, do you ever wish that you would have been more like that, more of that loner status to put you into that realm, or you were just that was how you competed? You were more apt to
I mean, that's just me. You know what I mean? That's just me. You know, I'm gonna be me, regardless. I could never do what Shaun does or the way he does it. You know, that's just not my personality to go against everything that you know who I am. No, I don't.
So in the history of snowboarding, is it safe to say that snowboarding really caught its wind and its momentum in maybe the late 80s, early 90s? Or when did snowboarding really catch on, when Kidwell and Burton and all these guys were really getting it up there?
I mean, it really, I don't know. That was pretty much before I was born, I think. You know, like kind of, late 80s, early 90s. You know, it was big and it was kind of known as like the rebel sport, you know, and kind of attracted a lot of, you know, a lot of people from different demographics, and yeah.
What are the top? Give me the top 3 snowboarders. Is it too tough? Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, all right. So
if you're judging a contest, it's almost impossible to pick one of you guys because it all looks so technically the same.
Yeah, well, maybe through your eyes.
Through my eyes. Yeah. I'm not a trained
So
judge.
I actually judged. I judged Dew Tour for a year, and then I judged X Games too. And for me, it's easy. You know, there are obviously going to be, you know, people who say stuff at the end of it, you know, but that might come down literally to like a little hand touch or something like that. But it's easy for me, you know. But as far as my favorite riders go, that's such a tough one because I'm influenced by so many riders. I literally was thinking about kind of making a list and almost publicly thanking them for their inspiration and kind of motivation for, you know, for me in my career. Yeah, there's so many good riders out there. It's
would
really,
Shaun,
really
would
hard
Shaun
to say.
be on that list?
Yeah, definitely.
Would Vito?
I love Louis as a person, but not as a snowboarder. No.
He didn't inspire you.
No, not quite. But he was an amazing snowboarder.
What about the pioneers or the trailblazers?
There's riders like, you know, Palmer for sure, but not really. I respected him as a competitor and, you know, what he did, but he was never a true inspiration for me. So, inspiration: Terry Hawkinson, Mike Michalchuk, Danny Cass. There's so many good riders. You know, Jake Blaveld. Oh my God, Bjorn Linus. You know, the 4-8 back in the day. I literally could go on for so long. Nicholas Mueller, Gigi Ruff, Travis Rice, you know, John Jackson. I mean, I could literally go on. There's a lot of riders who are amazing and that are super, super good.
And I mean, to say that, you know, the way that you competed was that, you know, that happy-go-lucky, that I got all my passion, everything's here, but to keep my nerves straight, I'm not going to be like just all uptight. And I kind of see that in your everyday life now. You make everybody feel comfortable around you. And when you know, I'm going into something here that was a little bit controversial in your career. You have a kind of a joking personality. You like to joke and cut up and be a smart ass once in a while here and there, just like we all do. Yeah. And talk to me a little bit about what happened after the Olympic gold medal. You're in the Village, and the controversy took place of a picture being taken of you with your medal, and with a female, and then you got literally kicked out or removed from Olympic Village, right?
Yeah, totally. You got it. So I won the medal. I was partying that night. I'd been sober for 6 months going into it, and so obviously I'm going to go up and celebrate. Won a medal. It's the happiest moment, So I was out partying, and some chick came up to me and was like, "Hey, like, can I take a photo of your medal?" Like, a lot of people did that, It's like, for sure, She's like, "Can I?" She's like, "Can I like bite it down here, so like and take a photo?" I was like, "Sure, whatever, And she's like, "Lift up your shirt," So I lifted up my shirt, was partying, whatever. Someone took a photo. Literally didn't think anything of it. No one did. Yeah. Actually, literally no one did. And then, I got a call from my agent in the morning. And Cersei's like, you are in big trouble. And I remember, actually, I specifically told her, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, whatever you say right now, I'm like, nothing can get me down.
Yeah,
like, I literally, I'm like, I was just, still running on a high. And she said that, this photo came out or whatever. And I was like, oh, God, like, what photo did they take? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and when I saw the photo, I'm like, what? This is what? Are you serious? This is it? Wait, where's the other one? Like, or whatever, And so at that point, when I found out in the morning, so someone had taken the photo, sent it to TMZ, like that night. Probably made a little bit of money on it. Still don't know who it is. TMZ posted it, United States Olympic Committee got a hold of it and literally booked my flight before I had woke up in the morning. And they wanted me out. So as an Olympic athlete, I had the right to go to trial pretty much there and to kind of fight for my stay. But a lot of people who were smarter than me told me that I should probably leave, kind of get out of the limelight a little bit. So it was a bummer. I wanted to go check out all the other sports because leading up to it, we didn't stay in the Olympic Village. We could have, but we wanted to kind of get out of the Olympic Village. Say you were staying next to a bobsledder who won a medal. He's going to go out and he's going to rage. And if he's in the room next to you the night before your contest, like,
you don't want that.
That would be the worst thing. So we rented a nice house in Vancouver, and we separated ourselves. So I actually didn't get the full experience. I got to do opening ceremonies and obviously competed and got to go up on the podium. Thank God. National anthem played, which was awesome. But I wanted to go check out some hockey games and, you know what I mean, and get the whole experience. Instead, I was flying back on a plane.
Were they going to try to take your medal away from you, or was that it? They were just wanted you out of there?
No. They just kind of wanted me out of there. There's no way in hell they were going to get my medal.
To me, I mean, obviously you're partying and you're on. I mean, that's the highest part of your career at that point. I mean, you've won an Olympic medal, which every kid dreams of, representing their countries in one way or the other in the Olympics.
Yep.
You actually are gifted and talented and dedicated enough to your sport to win a medal. Of course, you're going to go out and celebrate. And it almost sounds to me like I've done some reading up on this, and it almost sounds like a setup to me. It's just weird that a female would walk up to an athlete and want to do that with herself. Yeah. Why put herself in that positioning of what she did and where she how she got in that position and how she put the medal on? It's just all weird to me. And I think that a lot of guys would have probably been just like, hey, yeah, whatever, it's happy go lucky. Because I
guess we could leave it up to the people here on the podcast, and you can look up the photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will say this though. There I was representing United States. I wasn't just representing myself. So regardless if I thought it was bad or not, I'm still representing the ladies, the grandmothers. You know what I mean? People who wouldn't find that appropriate.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt that you're not that kind of a person. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying that.
It wasn't it seemed like a setup for sure.
It just I know you for the last 7 or 8 years, and I know that you have a personality to be out there and you like to joke around. You're not like some arrogant, stuck up person that's going to be like, of course, if somebody says, yeah, get a picture, who cares?
Right.
And then
I've never turned down a photo.
Yeah. You would have looked worse if you would have pushed her out of the way and said, what are you doing?
Right.
It's
right.
It's a weird, it's almost, it's
yeah,
a
then I would have got
situation.
the photo of my hand on her head and
yeah. And then they would have got that, and then, but maybe the right thing to do is have your agent with you or your security with you to be able to say.
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
that's why celebrities get a bad rap, because somebody will see them in public, and they'll go up to them and they'll say, "Hey, can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph?" And that celebrity has any reason in the world to say no, right? And then when they do, what are they? They're the biggest people, know. But sometimes you got to protect yourself, and you're the guy that's always. Yeah, let's get a picture. Yeah, let's get this. Yeah, I'll sign this. I've seen you're like a celebrity, especially up on the mountains. I mean, people recognize you all over the world, and you're going to get asked for a lot of photos. Yep. And just that one photo, it kind of, you're back on a plane to New Hampshire, but it was February, so you probably still had a little time to get in the woods a little bit. Or when does deer season close?
No, I didn't. When I'm competing, I really didn't get to. My season's pretty much done. First week in November. So I would get a little early season, bow hunting, and then early season duck. But I never got any late season duck hunting until just recently. when I kind of stopped competing. And now I just more or less film and kind of create my own content and do these big air shows. And I'm just doing all kinds of random stuff. I don't even know. Couldn't tell you what my plan is for next year. There's always something that comes up. I'm always going somewhere, doing something.
You just said the two words that are kind of my favorite part of what you did, what you still do as an extreme athlete, big air. On a motorcycle, the tricks these guys are doing now off of these super ramps and these super jumps.
Yeah.
The big air competitions that you guys do on these snowboards. When you're at the top of that mountain or the top of that run,
yeah,
you have a certain amount of momentum to gain before you hit the flat and then start to climb up onto that jump. Are you listening to music when you're on the top of that? Do you have headphones in, jamming out to some of the most motivating music you can, or are you just quiet and you're in your own space up there? Or are you still joking around with your buddies when you're getting ready to launch yourself in the air like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people listen to music. It's just not my thing. I swear to God, I've done it. I've tried it a few different times, but I don't like the chords. B, I like to talk with my friends. I'm never riding by myself. I'm always riding with friends. You know what I mean? It's like chairlift banter, and you know what I mean. And yo, what are you gonna do for this trick? And I like to talk and.
Knowing you would unstrap your bindings and start dancing.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah,
start a dance party up on the mountain.
Right. No, we've done a lot of dancing.
So you're on the top of that mountain. How fast is a snowboarder like yourself? How fast have they recorded you going down that hill approaching the super jump?
Oh, I don't know. I think that they did I was out in the Arctic Challenge out in Norway. It was a big quarter pipe contest put on by Terry Hawkinson, who I mentioned earlier. And they did they were trying to set the world record for the highest air. So they kind of had it mathematically. They did I forget how many kilometers an hour it was, but that was the only time I've ever really checked my speed going into it. But there's some funny apps and stuff like that, but we don't really pay attention. It's more a feel. There's more feel for it. You hear the wind. You feel the wind pressure. On you, and I'm not sure how fast we're going, but probably 35, 40, somewhere in between there.
Really?
Yep.
So you hit that jump going 40 miles an hour, and how high? What's the highest you've ever gone on a snowboard in your big air competitions?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to, I guess, give scale for the people who are listening there. But all right, so I guess a big jump we would consider. So you measure it from the lip where you actually take off to the knuckle. The knuckle is right where the landing starts. A decently big jump would be a 70-footer. 70 feet you actually have to clear to make it to the landing, and the landing is super long depending on how deep you take it, And height-wise, you could, go anywhere from, maybe 40, 50 would be absolutely giant, but yeah.
You've went 40 feet up in the air?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm sure I have, yeah.
I mean, that just seems that's high as hell, dude.
Yeah.
You're jumping 40 feet in the air and you're doing flips and these different trips, or do you just stay straight on the board? You're just up there with one?
Well, the first time you hit the jump, you're definitely straight air or do a 360, to test the speed to make sure that, you're not going to come up short or overshoot. But yeah, we're spinning and flipping and stuff like that.
And what is your favorite trick to do on that? Is there a certain trick that you were known for in a big air competition, or is it called the best whip competition? What are you doing in a big air competition? Do they just judge you on how far you go?
No. Well, I mean, that's part of it, I mean, style's part of it, execution, how you take off, make sure you don't pre-spin, how's your landing, did you put it down, stomp it? Did you get a lot of pop in the jump? Did you grab the whole way? There's a lot of factors, but main thing is style and what trick you did and how you executed it, That's really how you're judged.
And the camaraderie, we started with this, and I went into the snowboarding after you started talking about what you're doing on your property and the passion that you have for that, and how now, at 30 years old, you're kind of, I don't want to use the word retired, but you kind of...
bro, you did not just...
You did not just say that, bro. But I mean, at 30 years old, you're kind of retired from having to go out and worry about competing. You still go out and do big air shows. You still go out and do, snowboarding shows to where you bring this, we'll talk about what you're doing now, bringing the show to the mountain.
Yep.
And putting on, displays for people. But a lot of your time now is going into that property, and the Scotty Lago evolution is now he's taking that passion from the mountain and he's putting it into his own piece of property, his own piece of that mountain.
Yeah, for sure.
And you were known because you had started something that I compare to what we do in hunting with duck camp and the camaraderie. You actually started a club of snowboarders called Friends.
Oh, right? Yeah, a crew. Yeah, we started a crew called the Friends Crew, where essentially we were all just good friends, the same age. We would all compete, with each other. And those guys had similar sponsors. I was always kind of the dude who had random sponsors from them. So they would get, it would be like sponsored by Burton, and they would get a sick Burton house, and I would sometimes crash with them, or we would get our own house. We'd all stay together, film. We would do a lot of filming, and we started this crew. We were just like, we didn't want to turn it into anything. We just wanted to start a crew and make some stickers, and all of a sudden, we started getting the following, and we were known as the Friends Crew, and then eventually we got to a point where we're like, we should make something, let's just do something cool. Let's start a company. And, all kinds of ideas were started from anywhere from, snowboards to outerwear to shoes to, you know what I mean? And we just kind of had a big brainstorm. And one thing that we all had in common besides snowboarding was music. And we're like, you know what, dude, how sick would it be to start a headphone company? And so we did. And it eventually ended up getting kind of crazy because we, we're out there grinding. We're on the snowboarding a bunch, so we couldn't be in the office, doing the day-to-days. So it came to a point where the men's headphone market was super saturated, but there was this gap. No one was doing women-specific headphones, and especially high-end. So we capitalized on that, and we were super successful. We were in all Best Buys, most all Apple stores, and it was pretty much just due to bad management in the office where we kind of failed. To the bummer, but
was the headphones company called Friends?
Yeah, it was called Friends. Yep.
Now, is Friends the one that this group of guys that you're starting this new deal with, where you're bringing this aerial show to these mountains?
No, I wish that would be really cool. Everyone else is kind of went their separate ways. Kevin, one of the Friends crew, Kevin, suffered a TBI, traumatic brain injury, and his life changed. Obviously after that, he could no longer do it professionally, so he's out public speaking. One of the riders, Luke Matrani, broke his neck, so he's not doing it professionally anymore. Jack Matrani has pursued, he's the main host at X Games, Summer X Games, killing it. He's one of my best friends, also my best man at my wedding, and he's doing all kinds of stuff with filming and editing, and also him and Danny host a music festival called The Friendly Gathering, which is actually picking up a lot of traction. We do it in Vermont, and have thousands of people come out to a festival that we started. It's pretty cool.
So what is the new thing you're involved in? You're taking a show, a light show, and a DJ, and kind of mixing music, and where you guys are just you're packing the mountains. You're getting 4,000 or 5,000 people on the side.
Yeah, we're having some. I mean, probably our biggest show was 7,500 people out in Boyne, Michigan. So essentially, we have this one big jump on every Saturday night, pretty much every weekend. We would go to a different mountain, different spot. It would be put on by Sam Adams. It would be a free show to the public. We would hit this jump, skiers and snowboarders, and the whole jump, landing, and the in-run would all be 3D projected. So it would be at night, and it makes the jump look like it's alive. It's crazy. You got to kind of see it to believe it. We have huge firework display, and we're all kind of hitting the jump at the same time, and throwing tricks, and there's music, and people are so pumped. We do an autograph signing after, and we do it for 2 hours, and for 2 hours straight, we're signing autographs. The crowd's stoked. It's really cool.
So it's kind of like Nitro Circus on snow.
I was just gonna say, I'm a co-owner in these big air projects. I aspire to have a show like Nitro Circus. It's pretty much, if you were to compare it to anything, I guess similar to Nitro Circus.
Which is a badass show.
It's a badass show.
I mean, if you're not pumped when you come out of that place.
Right.
And who owns that? Is that Pastrana?
Yeah, that's Pastrana.
And when you talk about like action athletes, that's the craziest, probably the most successful, hands down action athlete of all time, maybe besides Shaun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Pastrana is unbelievable, super talented, and an absolute nut.
Just crazy.
Yeah,
like Johnny
absolutely.
Knoxville, crazy, maybe even crazier.
Yeah, but like Johnny Knoxville with extreme skills, to get himself in like more dangerous situations.
Like, didn't he like transfer into the car racing world at X Games?
Yeah, he did. Yes, yeah. He did.
He just loves speed.
He's kind of he did NASCAR too.
He went.
He did a year. He did a year in NASCAR, and I think he did pretty damn good. But I think, maybe the demographic or whatever, sponsors. It's expensive to do NASCAR, dude. It's like you gotta have some serious backing for some sponsors. So, he couldn't quite pull it off for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's got his hand in everything. Yep.
How many people were in the Tokyo Dome? I mean, I asked this question because one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life was Guns N' Roses live at the Tokyo Dome. It was like 70,000 people.
Yeah.
And you won a big air contest in Tokyo, in the Tokyo Dome, in an inside place with manicured snow.
Yeah.
And I know you won a truck and like 50 grand or something. I mean, it was a big win, but was that place just packed with Japanese people?
It was.
Cheering? Was it really?
It was absolutely packed, dude. Everyone had, the Japan flag waving. There's thousands and thousands of people. It was really cool, man. It was very, it was cool.
Well, Dan Henderson, who's one of the baddest ass UFC and Pride champion. Pride was originated in Japan, if I have my facts straight, and he won 2 different titles and 2 different weights in Pride, in the Pride Championship.
Okay, yeah.
Before UFC bought.
And that's a badass. Like, Pride is not. I remember when I was in Japan before I knew of UFC, or maybe I knew of UFC, but I saw Pride. And it was so savage, like they were like kicking people in the face. It's like, wait, what is like? Well, what are they doing here in Japan?
They had those big fighting. It was like the original days of UFC, where you just have these Grand Prix where you might fight 5 or 6, 7 times in one night, and then it kind of got sanctioned a little bit straighter than that. Again, if I have my facts straight, to where it became more uniform, to where there was weight divisions and there was different belts up and different titles. And Dan Henderson, Hendo, who, like I said, will be in here later on this week. He won 2 Pride championships. But my point in telling you that is that he said the Japanese fight fans are like on a different level. He said his favorite place to compete and to be around was in Japan.
Yeah,
and
there's a saying, big in Japan. Yeah. Japanese are great fans. They love Americans. We love the Japanese people. Japan's one of my favorite countries to go and visit. Unbelievable snowboarding. People are really cool, and it's ass backwards. I like Japanese food, and obviously the biggest attraction is it dumps. It snows every friggin' day. If you go out there in December, January, it snows every single day, and some of the best and most untouched powers is hidden in the mountains up there.
So when you say the best, and we got Tom Rashachuk sitting right here, who everybody knows it helps us produce and do a ton of photography here with Bandit and Foul Life. Well, he's a shredder. He's a skier. I've told you what him and his wife Chrissy do. He's always saying that word "pow." So you're saying in snowboarding, give me the best possible weather and conditions for your favorite day on the mountain.
Let's see. I mean, just powder, really. A powder with a good base, so you can ride and not be worried about any stumps or rocks or anything like that. Kind of descend it, and it's deep enough where you could tomahawk and be all right.
What is powder?
Powder? I mean, fresh snow, not groomed, super soft. And once you ride powder and you're good enough to ride it, you'll understand. I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there like, oh yeah, I love powder. Powder's great. It's what like kind of every skier and snowboarder strives to ride. It's a super weightless, super fun feeling. It's awesome.
Have you ever done that where they take you up to the top of the mountain in a helicopter and then do those like, what is that all about?
Yeah, heliboard. I've done a bunch of that. I've done actually we did like a month of that in Chile every day. So it was messed up, but we didn't have any good snow. So like we already pre-booked. We did like 30 grand in heli time. We had to pre-book it. So it's like we have to fly, 2 hours a day, mandatory, or else you lose it. So we didn't have any good snow. So we were freaking flying around anyways. We did freaking, like, we didn't have no snow at all. So we were heli wine tasting. Dude, we had a sick, like, we had a sick Chilean pilot from the military there, and he was such a badass, dude. We would like chase condors and like, dude, we had a good time. We would just kind of rip around the whole country of Chile. And
Chile has a potential to be a good snow
destination. Oh dude, Chile's awesome. Chile and Argentina, we go there quite a bit, and because they have opposite seasons. Our summer is their winter. Yeah. So we're always staying on the board.
That's
so we're either going there.
Is that the Andes Mountains?
Yeah, I think so.
Tom is the Andes Mountains. What runs through Argentina?
Fact checked here.
We need our facts checked, but that's funny you say that because we're getting ready to go to Argentina on a duck hunt. Which you need to come do that with us someday.
All right, cool. No,
it's not really
someday. Wait, when are you going?
It's not a duck hunt. It's a duck shoot, really, because I mean it's nothing to kill 400 or 500 ducks in a day. Like literally, you'll kill 400 in the morning and then go kill another 300-400 in the afternoon.
What?
And that'd be kind of cool to mix a little trip, combine a little snowboarding and duck hunting.
That would be.
Yeah.
That's like my two favorite things in one trip. Yeah.
We need to talk about that because we're going in July, and our buddy Monty Baldwin has a new company down there called Argentina Duck Hunting Adventures.
Yep.
He's got a 5-star lodge, and he's got some really badass properties. And that'd be cool to go down there and do an episode where we're on the mountain and then in the duck blind.
I'll Google, see if there's any good mountains close by. See if it's possible.
Well, where are the mountains? Are they up there? I assume in northern Argentina, up by
They kind of just run the whole strip.
Patagonia.
Yeah, they kind of run. Yeah, you get down to Patagonia, you get into some pretty badass terrain, but it's so windy down there. It's kind of where the wind lives, But it's they get a lot of riding. Good riding.
I guess I should have known that because I've known enough about South America and the hunting that they do have mountains down there. I guess it was more of a climate deal for me where I always just figured it was. But then the movie, what was the ski? Was it a soccer team that got in the plane wreck?
Oh yeah. Well, we actually flew right over that on our helicopter adventure.
That was
the pilot's like, "Oh, see that right there?" He's like, "That's right where the team crashed."
That was Chile where that happened.
Yeah, that was in Chile. Yeah.
Tom, is it the Andes? Andes. Yeah. Wow, dude, I got my geography. I don't even have Keith Allen here, and I had my geography straight.
Dude, my man.
You know Keith Allen, huh?
I love Keith. I haven't seen him, essentially since maybe have I not seen him since our first trip in Kansas? Maybe. I met him there, and we've kept in contact, and he's just an awesome human being. One of the best duck callers in the world, and kind of goes out of his way to help me and helped me, learn the intricacies of duck calling, and I'm still pretty damn bad.
You haven't mastered it yet?
No, you heard me before we started.
What? I thought it sounded good.
Absolutely, yeah. Baby, sound like a baby crying.
Coyotes come running in every time.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought we were duck hunting, Lego. You're calling on all these predators.
Yeah, right.
So you win this deal in Tokyo, which I can just picture like the adrenaline with all those Japanese flags waving and the crowd. I mean, the volume just had to be through the roof. And you compare that to the rest of your snowboarding career, I would think that a lot of it was surrounded around that kind of energy. Do you like the hunting part of your life because it's the exact opposite to where you're tranquility and peace out there in the woods? Or do you like having a bunch of buddies around camp and cutting up? Why do you love hunting so much?
I love hunting for so many aspects. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I really do. I love watching animals and I love getting to know their habits and whatnot. Also, hunting is one of the most challenging things that you can do, and you can take it to any level. You know what I mean? It depends on how serious or how crazy you want it to be. It's like, all right, if you're talking about duck hunting, it's like, all right, I'm going to go out and see if I can't kill a duck today, and then eventually you're like, I'm only shooting, greenheads, and then for you, in your case, you're only shooting greenheads and only if they do it the perfect way. Like you won't shoot them unless you call them in and you perfectly fool them and they're cupped right in your face, I'm lucky to get a pass by shooting the ducks, so it's so much to it. And I just feel like it's a never ending, way to push yourself. And, it's so challenging. And I love the adrenaline, man. I mean, like before, right when the ducks come in, it's like, sometimes I get so rattled. I'm like, all right, keep your face down on the gun. I got to like say these things, because I love it so much. It's so much adrenaline pumping through your veins right before you're about to, pull back a bow on, on a deer. My heart's going through the roof, and it's it's part adrenaline, it's part the love for the outdoors and the challenge that it gives me.
So would you say that when you talk about adrenaline and that feeling that when you're pulling back that bow, or when that turkey gobbles in the woods, or when those mallards cup up, is it kind of the same as being at the top of that half pipe, or does it not even compare?
No, for sure. It actually compares. Adrenaline, when I'm at the top of the half pipe, actually is not my favorite adrenaline. It's the adrenaline after I land like a run or do a trick that I was stoked on. That's the feeling that I want to get. It's like, most of the times it actually isn't fun before you drop in. I don't love competing. I don't love being at the top of the half pipe. I'm like, I can't wait to drop. I'm more like, oh, I can't wait to get this over with.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's like, I've never really loved competing. And that's why I'm really not doing it anymore. I believe I still, I can still, keep up kind of with the dudes, but it would be full commitment, and it would be no hunting, and you know what I mean. And it's such a grind, and also super taxing on your body, and like physically. I don't want it ever like hit my head. I've had a lot of bad concussions. You know what I mean. And
how many? Talk about that. I mean, one of the worst wrecks that I've ever seen on a snowboard was when you came down. What was you tell me the trick you were doing, and you landed on, you almost broke your neck, right? I mean, you landed on your jaw on the top of the lip on the half pipe, right?
Oh, yeah. So that was that was out in New Zealand. We were competing. I went to go do like a cab double 10 in the pipe. Just came up. I lost all my speed. It was super slow. It was during my run, so I went for it anyways. Came up like way short. Didn't quite get it around. Literally just the first thing I hit was like my face on the lip, and then that catapulted me back. That was a concussion. That was like a delayed concussion. I felt totally fine. I was like, oh my God, like obviously rocked, in a lot of pain, but I was like, all right, well, I'm good. I'm not concussed, Then I start to go up for my second run, and then I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right here. I'm like, wait, where am I? And then I didn't even know where I was or anything. I'm like, all right, someone needs to bring me down. I need help. But I've had a lot of those scary ones. I did one out in Mammoth, California. Just started the season. Caught my heel side edge. Caught my edge and hit the back of my head. I remember going down through the park like, oh, yeah, I'm not feeling so good. I probably shouldn't hit these jumps. And the next thing you know, I wake up, I'm on a stretcher, and I know nothing. I'm watching the Mammoth gondola go over my head, and it says Mammoth, and I was so freaked out because I had no clue that A, I was in California, I'm on the other side of the country, or B, the snowboard season had even started.
When was this?
That was when I was younger.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. So anyways, I hate hitting my head, and that comes with your injury just comes with snowboarding. You know what I mean? So, it's all part of the game.
Let me ask you this then, Scotty. You've been married now for, I don't know, you and Bridget got married, what, 3 years ago?
2.
2 years ago. We don't need to get in whether or not you're going to have kids, but let's say you have a son or a daughter and they want to get into competitive snowboarding. Are you going to support that with the possibility of that type of injury? And are you going to be there on the mountain with them? Do you see yourself, bringing, and I don't know, has there ever been a second generation snowboarder that you know of that his dad was like at your level and then brought his son up in it? I know you're too young, but have any of those trailblazer guys that you mentioned, have they ever?
Really? Yeah. It's like almost,
I've never heard of anybody in the 2 generations of that stuff.
Not really. I mean, like I think everyone has their, all the pros have their kids snowboard, but I don't know. I'm trying to think. Hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth here, but I don't really know. I can't think of anyone.
And so personally, would you want your
son?
Oh
yeah, no, I totally. Yeah. I mean, if they had a kid and he wanted to snowboard and he wanted to compete, whatever the hell he wants to do, But
when you start throwing around the word,
it comes with a price. You know what I mean? Like everything does. You know, you want to get to a high level and whatever you do, you got to sacrifice and snowboarding. You're gonna get hurt, and you got to heal, and you got to try not to mentally scar from that and get over it, and that's that.
When you start throwing around the word concussion, though, and the way that people are looking at the sport of football right now, and I've heard people say, I'll never let my kid play football. Personally, if I had a son, I wouldn't let him play football. I think it's just a dangerous sport of human beings that are a lot bigger and a lot stronger and a lot faster. And I just see, I've seen too many of my friends that have played in the NFL, college football, that are still experiencing, head trauma, and because of all the concussions and all the shots they took to the dome,
right?
Not to mention the muscles and the all that stuff. You can overcome, that part of the cripple.
Yeah, the physical part of it.
But when it's your brain,
when the brain stuff's really scary. Because it's still pretty damn unknown. You know what I mean? It's like they've learned like 90% of the brain within the last 10 years.
I guess anything in life, we could get a concussion walking out here and tripping and hitting our head. But the odds of that compared to going 40 feet in the air on a snowboard on snow,
right,
with going 50 miles an hour, or, playing in the NFL and your head's getting slammed on, those linemen are down in the trenches every play. And those are the ones that are experiencing most of the concussions and the head trauma later on in life. And people are like,
it's just repetitive.
Yeah, but the receivers take a big hit once in a while.
For sure.
Those guys got claws this big and they're just pounding each other's side of their head in every play. So to me, it's kind of like, do you get your kid into golf, or do you get your kid like snowboarding is the extreme of the extreme sports, right? I mean, you're 40 feet in the air with, you gotta have unbelievable balance, equilibrium, strength. You have to know your body. You have to be able to contort your body into so many conditions. And that's where I want to go into this is training to be an Olympic caliber athlete. You can see a boxer when he's on the Olympic team and he's shredded and he's cut up and that he's been burning calories and he's in a big time training program, right?
Yeah.
Well, you are too. When you take your shirt off, you're chiseled, and all those snowboarders are. Yep. You can't go into that sport out of shape and be successful.
No.
I mean, at least I assume you can't, right?
No, not at all. I'm definitely at my best when I call it like my winter weight. I lose like a bunch of weight snowboarding just from actually being on the mountain. Probably skipping a few lunches here and there too, but for sure. I mean, you got to be in shape. But it's more or less just honestly for me, one of the biggest things is being light. But not like, weak because you're snowboarding and you're riding, but actually like just riding so much that like you built the muscles that you need to build, and you have, like no unnecessary pretty much muscles. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is kind of weird, and you have to do stuff that's also going to prevent injury. If you take a slam on your shoulder, you know what I mean? You gotta have enough muscle and be strong enough to take a hit. But,
yeah, like
I don't know where the hell I was going with that.
Well, I know where you're going because like you think about like the Kentucky Derby that just ran this last weekend, right? Those jockeys are tiny human beings, right? You're not going to see a 240-pound linebacker on one of those horses winning the Preakness or the Derby.
Oh no.
So, but still, they're still muscular, and they're still to hold on to that horse and to use your legs, they got strong muscle, and they're chiseled up. And then you take that and you go into bull riding in the professional rodeo, the PBR. These bull riders aren't 240-pound men. They're built like you. They're 140 to 170 pounds of just bone, muscle, and that's it. And they're chiseled up. You can't be a bull rider and be out of shape. You gotta, I mean,
have you ever ridden a bull?
I don't think I could do it.
Dude, I thought I've always wanted to, and I think I still want to. If I have an opportunity, I really like to. But when I was out in Oklahoma, we we're in the pasture land, and we were rolling past all these cows, and he's like, "Oh, there's a big bull." I'm like, "Let's drive out to this thing, see how, Oh my God, that thing is just like 2,000 pounds, just so damn big, and he did not give a damn. All the cows are running, he just sat there, just right up to the window, so big, and so like, dude, I'm like, that thing steps on you. I'm going to pop.
Well, think about the greatest athletes in the world, how high Michael Jordan or Spud Webb could jump, and what Pastrana could do. Well, take a 2,000-pound bull that can jump 48 inches in the air and do spins and 360s and then reverse it as fast as he can go.
And he's so pissed.
And he's mad, and he's got all those strings tied to him that's pissing him off, and then he's getting spurred. And I think that rodeo cowboys and bull riders and bareback and saddle bronc riders, the shape that they're in, the mental aptitude that they have to get on that animal and be in that chute. And like when Lane Frost said, okay, boys, and they would open that chute up.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I could ever. I don't know if I'm that.
It's so badass.
It's so badass.
Dude, yeah, like
and like Jesse Lockwood. Have you paid attention? I know Jesse Lockwood follows you, but have you paid attention to this kid? Some of these new guys in the PBR.
No,
dude, these kids are 18, 19, just rolling up, like winning belt. I mean, winning buckle after buckle.
Yeah.
And you look at them and went. You would go, dude, you look like a computer engineer when I was in 8th grade.
Right.
Like, I mean, these kids are studs.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just a different mindset to be able to do that kind of sport.
Yep.
And that's kind of the being in shape part of life, or the nutrition part of it. Everything that you had to go through, that lifestyle that you were living to be successful. That's a discipline in itself right there. You can't go out and party. You made a comment that you were sober for 6 months going in. And, you know, I could tell you story after story about, you know, duck camp and what goes on at duck camp and the red meats that you eat and the fine wines that you drink.
Yeah.
It's a give and take.
Amen. I like that.
and I do too.
Yeah.
And I want to do the best that I could possibly do, you know, physically. And
right.
By no means would I ever say that I'm a physical specimen. But
all right, so what are we doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So what's your, you know, you want a workout program?
I when I come back off of what you call winter weight and I spend those 5 months chasing ducks and going from duck camp to duck camp. And here's how I put it is that we get to a destination, right? We go to Scotty Lago's in New Hampshire on Friday, and Scotty's jacked up. He's got he's scouted, he's manicured his land. He's got a new Traeger grill out there. He had his buddy who just killed a cow. He has the finest beef in America. And then we got some whiskey right there, maybe for a highball one night or some cold Bud Light.
Yeah.
I can't say no to Scotty Lago, but here's the deal. When I leave New Hampshire, then I
doing
go to Iowa and Randy's like, I got the finest wine. And it's the same with you. Like you go from one thing to the next. So finally you have to say, dude, it's time to cleanse. It's time to fast. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to fast more to where I wake up in the morning and I don't take any calories in until noon. I try to go until noon as many days of the week as I can in the off season without eating any calories. At the same time, mixing in hard Stairmaster workouts, elliptical workouts, different biking workouts to where I'm doing a lot of interval training, getting my heart rate up to 170, 175, and then bringing it down to my fat burning range of
I think that's
135, 140. So I'm doing a lot of that. And then when I'm jumping off the bike and my muscles are begging and trying to get as much oxygen into them, they're fighting my lungs for my oxygen. Then I try to get down and bust out a bunch of different kind of balancing push-ups to where I'm using my core to balance me. And I'm really trying to concentrate on techniques that my trainer, Matt Pendola, has been on the podcast several times. He has just the techniques to get you strong and get you ripped up without you knowing that you're even doing it. Like we were doing stuff this morning on these TRX bands, you know?
Oh yeah, totally.
You know TRX?
Yep.
We were doing these things to where I really started breaking it down what I was doing. I'm like, right now I'm strengthening my forearm, my bicep, my core, my abs, my ass, my gluteus. I mean, I could feel how my body can do it. And then right after that, he's got us up on these boxes and I'm doing box jumps and I'm throwing a ball up in the air while I'm landing on top of this box. And then we go outside and we're throwing a ball over our head backwards and then turn around and sprinting to it, grabbing it, throwing it over our heads, getting our heart rate up there. So I'm in a workout program.
That's all good. That's hard workout.
It's a hard workout. Yeah. And when I got you today and I said, I just got my butt kicked, I really did. And I don't want to quit doing that. I'm 43 years old and I want to be able to hunt throughout the entire season. I want to be able to go to the lake and look good, feel good. But more importantly, I want to be able to do like our buddy Les is at 70 years old. I still want to be rocking it. And people say all the time, you know, hey, we're young, but dude, I'm telling you, life passes you by and life goes fast. Look at you. Your snowboarding career just flew by you from 18 to 30 years old. Like it's like you're like, whoa.
No, actually, the funny thing is when I was first starting to be a professional, I remember one of my peers turned 18. I'm like, oh wow, he's old. You know what I mean? He's probably got a couple years left. So kind of funny, you know. Here I am, 30, still doing it. But yeah, I agree, man. I mean, you gotta capitalize. You gotta grind.
When you say grind though, it's like the mentality that it takes to have that in your career, right? You had to be in shape to be successful, not just to win a medal, but your livelihood, your money being made was in sponsors, appearances, competitions, all of that depended on your success. You weren't going to go out and take 100th place, Lago, and have the success that you did financially. It's not a secret. So to have that success, you had to be mentally and physically tough, as well as intelligent. You have to have intelligence to be able to go out there and put together that kind of a lifestyle.
For sure. I think that's also another point we haven't talked about. As far as competitive sports or even just doing whatever you want to do, a goal of yours. Like one of the biggest things for me, and almost like a light bulb moment, is when I started doing a lot of sports psychology work and stuff like that, and just planning out a goal. Like say I had a goal ahead, all right, I'm literally gonna plan out how I'm gonna get there, and then what am I gonna do, every day to work towards that goal. And I like doing it, but I think, people need to be, goal oriented, in their sport or whatever that they want to achieve. Anything in life. You need to figure out how you're going to do it. You can't just kind of work harder in a random direction. You know what I mean? You got to kind of focus and figure it out. And funny thing is, every time I get injured in snowboarding, it was actually a blessing in disguise, because I would be injured and I would have a month off, let my bones heal or whatever the hell it was. I would sit there and I would almost take that time to remotivate and refocus my career. I'm like, all right, it's actually kind of weird. I was kind of going down this path, but that doesn't really align with where I want to be. You know what I mean? So I'd almost refocus and do the stuff that I would never have the time to do when I'm actually snowboarding a bunch, and then kind of start off in the way I wanted to be. So yeah.
So all in all, the mental approach that you had in your competitive career, starting at 16 years old, I believe you were 16 when you turned pro.
Yeah, something like that. It's like a gray area with snowboarding. It's not like, congrats, you're a pro. They don't throw you a party or anything. It's like, all right, I guess.
Oh, there's no draft.
There's no draft.
Team Burton takes Scott Lago in the second round.
This just in. No, so it's a lot of people say it's like, all right, so when you get your first pro model or when you first start, actually making money, opposed to just getting a salary or whatever. So I don't know. It's tough to say, but right around that age.
But one thing's for sure is that you still take that approach, that mentality, short-term goals, long-term goals, and you're applying that to your everyday life now, and your success is still coming in your land management, your land application that you're doing for your hunting and your conservation. You're also building a snowboard company called Lago Snowboards that are awesome. I saw the ones with the double barrel shotgun. What's the name of that one? Is that the double barrel?
That is the double barrel.
I need one of those signed.
Very appropriate.
I'm gonna need one of those signed.
Yep, you got it.
That's.
As long as you promise me a spot here in your office, trying to find it.
You see the corner over there?
I see. That's one of my old boards. It's not exactly hung up the way I'd like. It's in the corner.
I took it down when you started Lego Snowboards. I want to promote Lego.
That.
I needed Lego one.
Get you one signed up.
Signed,
Your office is sick, by the way. A lot of badass mounts for. I want to paint a picture for everyone at home. He's got all kinds of coyotes fully mounted, a lynx, a bobcat, every waterfowl species that you can imagine.
The turkey over Tom's head.
That's a big turkey.
Don't see
too.
That's the Tom section.
I love the geese. I love the neck bands on those
neck
three
collars.
geese. Yeah,
See, these are cacklers. I was telling you about our hunts in Oregon. These are from right around the Willamette Valley of Oregon, kind of outside of Portland, probably 30 miles.
Yep.
And you can see, look at the beak size and the neck size, the
tiny.
head size.
Yeah.
Little subspecies of the Canada goose.
Yep.
But did you get my joke,
Cute
Lego?
almost.
This is my Tom section over here.
Yeah.
See the Tom on the
Yes,
Tom
I
over
get
here?
it.
Tom smile over here. Tom can gobble too. But yeah,
I gotta learn how to owl hoot. Oh, you got one? Oh. Oh, so is this your puppy?
That's
your puppy's so cute.
Isn't he? Come here, Duff. I have Brad Arrington is our dog trainer with Mossy Pond.
Yep.
He's a partner of ours in Georgia, Mossy Pond Retrievers. And we got a puppy from him a couple years ago. He's a black lab. We named him Axel because, Guns N' Roses groupie.
Yeah.
So Duff is a yellow lab, and he's the bass player at Guns N' Roses, Duff McKagan. And then our next black will be Slash.
Nice.
We got to complete the band,
Absolutely.
But yeah,
dude, he's a little nugget, man. He's
Isn't he cute?
Yeah, he's gonna be the most savage hunting dog out there.
Yeah, he's out of a kennel in Auburn, California. Jody Duncan.
Nice.
She's a badass.
What's a dog like that cost?
Um,
Come on. People out there want to know. we need to get into some details here.
Right around the two mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But by the time
not
Brad's $2 not bad. By the time Brad's done with them,
Yep.
I've heard stories of these dogs being like racehorses, and I'm just
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, totally.
I guess when you have that kind of disposable income and you say I want a high-powered lab,
Right.
I guess money's not high-powered lab.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be the name of my kennel, high-powered.
Yeah. I need a retrieving dog. As of right now, I'm a lot of swimming, and kayaks to retrieve the ducks, fishing poles, not joking. I'm not joking.
You need to get a lab. You want me to hook you up with Brad?
Dude, the thing is, I don't think wifey wants another one. We have a Jack Russell Terrier, and I love that little nugget, dude. He's a tracking dog.
He has his own Instagram account, doesn't he?
Yeah, official the Camel the dog.
Camel the dog.
Yep. So he's a tracking dog for the state of New Hampshire, and dude, it is so much fun. So if someone shoots a deer and they can't find it, they'll call us, and we'll go and help them track it.
Are you being serious right now?
I swear to God, yeah, it's awesome. So he went. We did 13 tracks last year, and he went 7 for 13. Finding the deer. He did a great job. He's been doing it for 3 years now, and it keeps getting better and better. It's a lot of fun. It's like when someone shoots a deer, it's like I know how important it was for me. It's like whenever I wound a deer and I couldn't find it, it's the worst feeling in the world. You know what I mean? To go and help someone find it, with a dog, and to utilize like man's best friend, like they love it. Just like your dogs love to go retrieve. It's a lot of fun. I'll pass up hunting sometimes to take my dog on a track to help someone find their deer. So
yeah, my cousin Thomas has a coos deer and mule deer service in Sonora.
Oh, sick!
And it's real thick and heavy brush down there.
Yep.
And he has a Jack Russell that he carries on every hunt.
Nice.
And he'll film him, and he'll just take that blood trail and he'll go into those sticks and find those bucks that, very easily could, like what you're saying, you could lose them. I've heard stories of guys thinking they made the perfect shot in their tree stand and never finding that deer, and it's just such an empty feeling. Even like when I would cripple a duck back in the day.
Right.
And sometimes it still happens, but we make every effort in the world to go get them. Sometimes you don't, and you just think, man, that's not cool,
I know.
It's just
you just have this pit in your stomach, and but I think that's good. You know what I mean? I think that's what that hunters need to have. You need to have compassion for the animals. Like whenever I shoot an animal, I want to end its life as quickly as I can, whether it's a duck, a deer, a turkey, whatever. You got to have compassion for them, but also, freaking love to hunt them. I love to kill them.
But that's there's nothing wrong with that. And
Right.
that's the thing is that
Right.
if you break it down, and we do have a responsibility to end their lives ethically as fast as we can. If we're gonna point a gun at them or an arrow and shoot it at them and try to kill them to eat them, then we have to make sure that it's an ethical shot. We don't want them to suffer. And the other thing that you said is the compassion that a hunter has for if you don't have compassion for the animals you're chasing, then you shouldn't even be doing it.
Right.
All the way down to predator calling.
Right.
People say F a coyote. No. A coyote is a badass animal.
Right.
I promise you, it's probably the most adaptable animal in the world. You put one on the North Pole.
It is, right?
It's got to be.
Literally, the U.S. government cannot get rid of them. They tried their best, and the biologist came over, to my house, and he's like, I'll be honest. He's like, you can't really control the coyote population. I don't know, whatever it is. It's like you shoot the lead, the alpha female. If you shoot that female, then then all the other females that weren't really breeding are now breeding again. I think that's kind of what he was telling me. But they're they're a badass animal. They're super adaptable.
And and even when you're shooting a mangy old coyote, you have to have compassion for it and respect for it. We're ending something's life. We're ending an animal's life. And I think, I say it all the time, the heart of a hunter and the compassion that we do have. And on top of that, we've talked about here before with the amount of money and the conservation efforts that go in from a hunter's checkbook, whether you're just buying a duck stamp or, when you're building a food plot that's going to supply that animal nutritional value. There's a lot of ways to look at it. Are you baiting? Well, I don't know. A deer's coming there. He might not have came to that exact area of that piece of property at that time when you happen to be in your tree stand, and you take a deer off of that food plot. But how many deer and other animals are thriving off of that nutrition throughout the year. Same with the duck property. There's a lot of that arguing going on and legislation going on is should you be able to hunt ducks over flooded corn, and should you be able to hunt them over flooded rice, and is baiting a white-tailed deer with a feeder in Kansas the same as building a food plot in Iowa? I don't want to get into those kind of arguments because I look at it like, hey, we might take a few of them out of the ecosystem, but the amount of work that goes into those properties and the amount of nutrition value, habitat value, making them having a better place to live, that's way bigger than that one deer that you take off there. I'm not taking that one deer for granted by any means, but what do we do once we kill that deer? We process it, we butcher it, we feed our family and friends. So the way I look at
it's the best renewable resource America has, one of them. I do believe that.
Hunting is, hands down. It's one of the
how
best.
are people still starving in America? It's crazy. I'm thinking about starting maybe a Hunters for the Hungry chapter in New Hampshire or something like that.
You should. They have them all over the country.
I do. Yeah, I would love to do that because I love to kill deer and there's plenty of them around.
There's nothing better than living off the land. Hippies are starting to do it again, and they say it's cool to be organic and live off the land. Hunters have been doing it forever. Yeah. And then you take that on what you just said and you compound it by saying, all right, well now there's some states like Alabama, I think you can kill 50 or 60 deer a season in one, whatever. But if you can take that and bring it to a shelter or bring it to a locker and get it processed to feed the homeless. Yeah.
It's all delicious. It's all organic. It is super high in protein. There's no fat.
No enzymes, no additives.
Yeah. It's just dude.
You can't eat better.
Right.
And it brings I was doing some events back.
Kind of made myself hungry.
I was doing some events back in the day called Hunt, Fish, Feed, but the Sportsman's Channel. We were one of them was in San Diego, and we were feeding the homeless down there, and it was kind of like 08, 09 when the recession was hitting. And there was people I met in Line Lago that had literally lost their house within the last 60 days. Families of 4 and 5 people that had a nice house that lost them due to those. Remember the banking thing and the mortgage crisis and all that was going on? Yep. And where I'm going with this is that there was actually protesters throwing things at us, going in. Oh my God. There was lines of protesters that knew this hunting initiative was coming to San Diego.
That's unbelievable.
And we had a line a mile long of homeless people that did not have a meal to eat.
Right.
And we were making them elk tacos, mule deer pastas, and we were back there serving it to them. And
what a cool thing that you can do. You know what I mean? I think that's so badass. I'm hyped on that. You're going out doing what you love and then you're able to give back, in so many ways. Hunting gives back in so many ways.
To the animal and to people.
To the animals, and the people, and like you're saying, all the money that, that comes from hunting goes to conservation. That excites me,
There's a ton of different ways to meet. I get choked up a little bit, not choked up, but I get fired up when I talk about this because there's a ton of ways to get to know somebody. You can go golf 18 holes and they say there's no better way to get to know somebody. And golfing, whatever, it could be cool. I get it. Yeah. But to be a hunter and to have that brotherhood and that union of what it means to understand that language that we speak, how we talk to each other, how we communicate with the animals. And now you put on top of that, the conservation part of it, the feeding the homeless part of it, the ability to supply and be a provider for your family and your friends, and to provide that healthy, sustainable meat source that you have to be good to consistently do it. You have to hone your skills to consistently do it, or you have to be friends with somebody that is. Right. Because I got lots of friends that send me halibut and different kinds of fish and wild game, and I eat every bit of it. So I get fired up about it because there is no better way or no better lifestyle, in my opinion. I'm not saying that to be a hunter's the ultimate goal in your life. I'm not saying that if you don't hunt, you suck. I'm not saying that. Right. But I always say, don't judge us just because we hunt. These antis that want to hate on us, that, we don't need to give them a lot of a time or attention, but what better lifestyle is there? And you just explained it in a nutshell. Yeah. We get to go out and enjoy our day, see Mother Nature at its finest, harvest a couple animals ethically, eat those animals, or supply that food to the homeless shelter, the people that might not be able to afford a meal. Right. What's better? Right. There's nothing better in life to me. Yep. And where I'm going with that now is, you got into a little bit of some controversial political things with some sponsors in your day because of your support for, I just came from Dallas from the NRA convention, 2018 NRA. It was a success. It was awesome. A lot of protesters, the things that are going on with mass shootings and gun laws around here and around the country. We don't need to get into the politics about it, but the NRA is strong, and I'm a member. I'm a life member. I know that you're a member, and you've gone through it to where you made it known that you backed and supported the Second Amendment of our Constitution. You're an NRA, and you were kicked off. You were fired from, and you said you were given the ultimatum: you take down the posts, or you're done with our brand. And you said, "See you later." Yeah,
it's crazy. I'm not going to mention the.
No, I don't want you
to. The company, but I mean, it's just quite silly. It really is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, not much to say about it. I'm like, there's no way in hell I was, gonna take down the, you know what I mean? That's something I truly believe in. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
Well,
I guess hunting for some people, and guns for some people is so polarizing. It's like, it's like religion and politics. You know what I mean? It's right up there. I really wish it wasn't. Because I love them.
I love taking one of those people that use that word polarized, and I've done it. I've been lucky enough to take people on their first hunt or their first time out in the hills to go plinking around with a rifle and shoot.
Yep.
And when they do it, whether it's a handgun or a shotgun or a rifle or bow, when they do it, like Tom right here, he's never hunted, but he shoots. And then last week or 2 weeks ago when Mendez or whenever Mendez was up here, Mendez and Tom went out and shot their bows.
Nice.
And Tom literally will not leave me alone about getting him set up with a bow now.
I'm going to go shoot after this, too.
I'll shoot with you. So
nice.
We'll have a little competition for dinner.
Yeah.
But my point is that every time I've taken one of these new quote unquote newbies out, hooked.
Right.
Not just like we do these conservation efforts with agencies like the California Waterfowl Association. We did this thing with Cal Davis, University of California Davis this year, and their biology program and specifically their waterfowl biology program, to where we took a first-time hunter out. She'd never been in the blind, but she's been studying about it, and she literally texts me once a month now. When's our hunt this year? I can't wait. What waiters should I get?
Right. She's all jazzed.
You're bringing money into our industry. You're bringing new blood into our industry. When she meets a man, he might not hunt, but if he's going to be with her, he's probably going to end up hunting.
Right.
So now you bring his money into the industry. I'm not saying that we need all the money. I'm saying that we need that new blood in this industry, and that does bring new financial means.
It's so funny. I'm like I want to get new people into hunting. You know what I mean? And but it's so funny. It's like I think like one of the new people that I got back home. I got a person into bow hunting. And it went and bit me in the ass later in that season. I saw the guy set up at 50 yards from my tree stand. I swear to God, I'm like, oh my God, that is so classic.
Did he really?
But he literally just didn't know I was there. But that kind of stuff happens. But I totally, it's kind of funny.
It's an educational thing. I think that you start to learn.
There's so much to learn.
There is.
So much to learn.
And those little mistakes like that are going to be made. And I talk about it all the time, how as you mature in your hunting career, that the real things, the important things really start to become more evident. And it's not about that stack or that pile of dead birds or a huge deer, 185 inch. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like you. I like to hunt. I like to call them in. I like to shoot them. I like to kill them. I like to eat them. But
you just want to do it your way. Now you've gotten to a point where you want to do it with a bigger purpose in mind.
Yes.
And I respect that. That's awesome.
But don't you think in your hunting career, the earlier that you can realize that, and I want everybody to experience those big hunts, those ups and downs of hunting, because there's a lot of days you go out there and fail, and you have to find that one thing in that hunt that's going to bring you back.
For sure.
Like you be in competition and you might have the worst 5 runs or however many runs you would do, but you might hit one trick on that last run. You already know that you're out of medal contention. You might hit one trick that you go back and say, I'm ready for the next competition because I got the confidence off that one trick.
For sure.
So with that being said, you have that motivation in your hunting career to see bigger things, feeding the homeless, getting kids involved, getting women involved, working with California Waterfowl or Ducks Unlimited or Delta or Mule Deer Foundation, whoever it is. You start to really see the bigger picture of things. And that's what I love about hunting, is that when I go to duck camp now, I'm not so fired up to kill 100 ducks. I want to see 100 ducks, do it perfect in the decoys.
Right.
And like last week in Iowa, we were turkey hunting. I had my little 9-year-old buddy mullet in between my legs, miss a turkey, and
Mullet?
he was mullet, we call him.
I love it.
He's a stud. But anyway, his dad, Chad Freeberg's a police officer in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and stud dad, just a great family. Like, I'm talking like just stud wrestlers, football players, hunters. But to see his excitement and his anticipation and his body shaking the way it was, that's what we got to find again as adults in hunting is, how do we get those shakes again?
Oh, bro, I still shake.
I shake all the time.
Joking, dude,
but that's because we understand the gist of hunting.
Right.
You can't just go out and walk up and jump shoot a bunch of wood ducks and get the same shakes that you get of developing a little hole and having those wood ducks come into your decoy spread and seeing a kid or your wife raise a shotgun up and shoot their first duck, or you and your buddies have a heck of a memorable hunt off of that hole. Yep. There's just different things that I look at in the hunt now that make it fulfilling to me. And I think that anything in life, like with your snowboarding career now, you're not done. You're giving back. You're still out there. You have youth camps. I know that you're an instructor in New Hampshire on some mountains back there. You have a Scotty Lago week that sells out every year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're still instructing and getting new blood involved in the sport. And with that mentality, I think that that's what hunters do on a daily basis.
Totally.
I don't think they look at it any other way. And if we are, I think that we're in it for the wrong reasons, because a limited ducks is really not that big of a deal.
Right.
And I've heard you say, like,
maybe for you. No,
no, but you know what I mean? I understand what you're saying.
For sure. Of course. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I just like hunting is, and the way I look at it too, it's like, if you want to get like a kid into something, great, like a team sports are great, absolutely. But a passion that's going to be with them for the rest of their life, and it's got me hooked, like, that I have been since a little kid. And I swear to God, since I've been little, my passion has actually increased more and more. And now I'm more passionate about hunting now than I ever have been. But it's such a wholesome sport. You know what I mean? Like this day and age is different. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different world, there's even with technology, you know what I mean? And it's just great to like really bring it back to the roots and disconnect from everything. Not to sound too deep, but really is, you know what I mean? Like a young kid growing up now who knows how to run an iPad, before he's, 5, like super good, is a whole different world, And I think like hunting's
because you think about
is like something that really brings like, connection. Hey, this is real life, here too, and this is, this brings it back to the roots.
Our buddy Drake White uses the term disconnect to connect. And if you think about it, the real connection that you're making when you're out in the woods is way more important than connecting to the internet. And with today's, and we're just as guilty as anybody with social media and building brands and posting pictures.
No doubt about it.
But really, what does it mean to American society if you can't live without that cell phone or that iPad, and you can't live without looking at your Instagram account to see how many likes you got or how many people comment on a picture? 10 years ago, we never even had to worry about that kind of stuff. And I think that it breeds the wrong message in hunting. We do it, don't get me wrong. And I hope that our messaging is the lifestyle is the one that you want to be living as a hunter.
Right.
But I don't want it to get to where it builds like this ego into hunting, like rah, look at the ducks we killed, or I'm the best mule deer hunter in the world. Right. I think that if you develop an ego because.
Well, I think that's just, certain people will throw that vibe out. Certain people won't, some people will do that. There's no denying it,
But I mean, do you find it weird that somebody could develop an ego by being a good hunter? Like you are shooting a deer from a tree stand that deer don't look up very often.
Right.
You're shooting a bow that's engineered to shoot at 400 feet a second consistently now.
Yep.
You're shooting arrows that could go through the biggest building in America, through an airplane probably.
Right.
You are hunting on leases. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I'm not saying that you can't go out in public land and kill it. It's happening every day.
Yep.
But it's not brain surgery. It's not that we're over fighting for our freedoms. It's like we're literally up in a tree stand where a deer barely looks up because he has no natural predator from the sky.
Right.
And you draw back on it, whoosh, blood trail, pick him up, and then all of a sudden, oh, you're the badass because you killed a big deer. No, that's not what it's about. It's about everything that went into that moment. If you could hit rewind, what were you doing in bed the night before?
Oh, right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's about all the work that it takes to getting in there. And that's half the fun for me too. Like whether you're talking about, archery hunting deer or, or scouting for waterfowl and getting the right spread and getting, like everything. I mean, geez, there's so much to it. You know what I mean? It's all about the whole preparation. And I love the preparation. That's just as fun for me too.
Exactly. So I would guess that I would never run into Scotty Lago and have him big league me or be condescending about hunting. Like,
you wouldn't let me big league you anyway. The day that I big league you, that'd be amazing. Rolling here. What's up, Chad? Hey, heads up, man. Seriously, dude, I'm doing something important. Chad, seriously, get out of my way.
Yeah, Chad, would you please remove yourself from the camera? This is not your show.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is that that we got to get it ingrained in people that this is something that is to be shared, and we're blessed to do it. And the entitlement part of it pisses me off. And like it used to be there to like, hey, I was here first. This is my spot. Well, there's a respect that you learn, and there's ethics that you learn, and there's protocol that you learn.
Right.
What's the word I'm looking for? Like when you are in a bowling alley and the guy next to you is bowling, you're not supposed to like step up and bowl so you're not in his side vision.
Yep.
Can somebody help me with that word I'm looking for?
Is there a word for that?
Yeah. Hey, Clay. Etiquette.
Oh,
okay, so
I thought it was like a bowling specific word.
No, but etiquette. Like in snowboarding,
totally etiquette,
you don't
right,
like drop in right on top of somebody.
Yeah, we call it mountain etiquette.
Mountain etiquette.
We're actually the people who live in the mountains and respect the mountains. You'll go to a mountain town, you don't see any trash. You know what I mean? There's no trash. You know what I mean? People do not litter in the mountains, and people don't hang out in the landings of jumps, and don't cut people off, and it's just mountain etiquette. So yeah, I mean, for sure, everyone has to have.
Have you ever ran across somebody that doesn't have it?
All the time. Yeah,
and those are the guys that need...
It's like the people who like try to bring localism, to their local hill. I hate that shit. I hate it. It's like, oh, like this is my mountain. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what? It's mine today. I bought the ticket. It's just like I don't like localism, but bad mountain etiquette. You'll go to smaller mountains in and around New Jersey, where like a lot of city kids are coming up, and the whole mountain is trash. It's unbelievable. If you go to like Mountain Creek, it's hilarious actually. Like there's so much trash on the mountain. It's like those people don't have mountain etiquette.
They don't get it.
They don't get it.
And when you apply that to hunting, it's the same thing. You're hunting a public area. There's etiquette. You don't go set up on top of somebody.
Right.
You don't run your four-wheeler through somebody's stand. There's things that you learn that make you an all-around better hunter and conservationist. I think, and it might take several years to get there. But I think if you surround yourself with the right influencers that have been there, done it, and they understand about that there is a bigger picture than racing to a duck hole in the flooded timber of Arkansas in the Bayamida and actually getting in a wreck in your boat because you're so aggressive and so just out of your world, like you're driving with such recklessness that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like you're going to kill a green-headed duck. And I get it. You love seeing them come in, and you are from Arkansas, and you have the right to be there more than a guy from Nevada has to be there. My etiquette's like, hey, I'll wait till you're done and go in there after and hunt them from 9 to 1.
It's going to be more pleasurable because I don't like jockeying for that anyways. You know what I mean? That takes the pleasure out of it for me. I actually I'm missing opening day for turkey back home. It opened on, what's today? Monday? Opened on Saturday. I'm actually kind of excited, because I knew there was going to be a bunch of people in the woods, and I kind of want to just go off into some big pieces and kind of just not run into a hunter and just kind of go and have a peaceful hunt too. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, I don't like jockeying for spots like that. Like to rally to a duck blind to beat someone else. Like, I hate it. I really do hate it,
And I get it. I understand if you're, that's your one day of the week that you get to hunt and you want to get in a good spot, right. You got to get there earlier. Yeah. Be the first in line. Get up earlier and get out there in the dark. You can't just walk in and say, oh, if it's a public area, it's first come, first serve. And, there are some places with draws and stuff that where you get more, more access to a certain place if you draw a pill and you get a top pick. But like where we grew up hunting is, or where we cut our teeth duck hunting is more of a, if you get there before somebody and you walk out, that's your hunting area.
Right.
But you'd still have a guy set up 80 yards from you.
Right.
And he's literally you're working a group
right,
of ducks.
you guys calling the same ducks. You're just like, all right, dude.
He's not even calling. We're working a group of ducks, and he might have a spoonbill fly through his decoys. He shoots at that duck, and these mallards that we're working,
right,
because we've tried to hone our skills, they're gone.
Right.
That we don't have a chance anymore. And that's what, you know, when you're hunting public area, you got to keep in mind, hey, let's try to make it the best experience for everybody out there. If you're not there first and you're not there on time, then, hey, go find another spot.
Right, yeah.
But don't go set up at 50 yards for me.
It's going to be more pleasurable. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry, you know, you're not going to have to worry about, like, you know, this guy blowing his spot out, ruin it for him. You know, it's going to be awkward tension. Got a question for you. Have you ever stayed the night before to claim a spot?
Yeah.
How many times?
Not very often since we started filming, and thank God and thank, you know, what we've got to establish with our brands to where we have a lot of people that like entertain us and bring us in and let us hunt their properties. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah.
You know, you've invited me to come hunt your property. I go up there and it's private property and we shoot some wood ducks. Well, I get that, you know, we get invites from a lot of different people around the country and Canada and South America, and we're thankful for every bit of it. And if you're trying to do what we do on public property, it's difficult. One, people don't want to see you out there because you're quote unquote drawing attention to their spot, right, or their hole, right, or their mountain.
No, actually, all I do is hunt public.
You see?
Yeah.
And oh, you don't hunt ducks on your own property?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought you had a little wood duck hole.
No, I wish. That would be amazing. I have a river that goes through my property, but you know, open water, everyone has water access as long as you can get to the water.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't have to do it as much as we used to, but I used to look forward to that. We'd go out to places like we call Toulon here, or the Stillwater Refuge public area for duck hunting, and there are certain areas designated for camping, and you could stay in those areas. You could go scout until the sun goes down.
Right.
You couldn't have your boat in the water until a certain time. You couldn't do any of that, so everything was kind of kosher in the morning.
Yep.
But there was a lot of those 2 o'clock in the mornings where you're getting
right
out there because you just had a feeling that you needed to be in that spot for the day.
Yep.
I like that. I mean, maybe as I've matured into my hunting, I'm 43 years old now, I wouldn't get off on it as much.
Right.
But I still am like a kid in a candy store the night before any hunt.
Yeah.
I love the anticipation of whatever that hunt's going to bring that day.
Right.
I like to try to paint that picture the night before in my head.
I think sorry to cut you off. If I don't say it, I'll probably forget it. Spit on the microphone here. Apparently I'm just over amping. Sometimes I'm more amped and I'm having more fun. Sometimes even thinking the night before, planning it out. It usually never turns out the way I planned it. But, you know, that's a lot of fun, you know, the night before planning the hunt and anticipation, you know, I love that, you know, I love it.
Well, that's
all I wanted to say.
No, to wrap it up, to wrap that into what we've been discussing is that's what being a hunter is all about. The game planning, what is your approach going to be that next day? How are you going to put yourself in the best position to become successful? We all want to be successful. We can sit here and talk until we're blue in the face about, well, hunting camp, it means this, and it does. I love everything that goes into a hunt, but I still love the successful part of a hunt, and it might just be one duck doing it the right way. It might be somebody enjoying their first hunt. It might be us learning something in the field that we never thought of before. Yep. There's a lot of ways to judge success. Sometimes when you just have a unbelievable hunt and the birds are coming in like crazy and you're shooting them, sometimes those hunts get over too fast and you're like, now what do we do? It's like, I really like the game planning, you know.
Totally.
Not that I'm comparing it to a football coach or something like that, but I really like knowing, you know, hey, we're going into this situation. We're going to have this wind. We're going to have this sun, this temperature. I know that these roosts over here, this one's iced up, this one's open, this one's holding more mallards. There are some coming out of this general area over here. We might have some competition in this area. Our height is going to be this. We're going to have to dig in. We're going to use ground blinds. We got a pit blind in this one. We're going to use a panel blind on the edge of a cornfield or on the edge of a pea field. And you got all of these different applications. And that's what you were talking about earlier, is that you start going, man, what's this day going to bring? Because think about it. When you drive into that field in the dark, or you walk into your tree stand in the dark, you have no idea that within a matter of an hour or so, you might be standing over a deer or a pile of dead birds or some of the best memories that you've ever been able to create in your lifetime. That's what I love about hunting.
Yep.
That's what I love about it. And I don't know if you can compare it to another lifestyle. I know that when you go in and you anticipate a baseball game, you're going, I'm going to go 3 for 3. And when at the end of the game, you know, hey, I'm either going to be 0 for 4, I'm going to be 3 for 3, and I'm going to win or lose. Mm-hmm. When you go into a golf game, you're going to be, well, I hit the ball good or I hit the ball bad today. In hunting, you never know what to expect. In golf, you know what to expect. You know that you're going to have a bunch of people standing on the sides of you. You're going to be on the tee box. You're going to hit your driver. You're going to hit your wedge. You're going to hit your putter, and you're going to win or lose.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that something might not crazy happen, like an alligator comes up and bites you, like in Happy Gilmore, or whatever.
Forbid, right?
Lord forbid. But think about what I'm saying, Lago.
He gave it to the alligator, though.
Think about what I'm saying. You never know what you're going to get to see.
Well, I mean, it's not up to you. You know what I mean? It's up to the animals. You can do everything in your power to control every variable you can, but it really comes down to the animals.
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature, yeah.
The animals could get up off the roost and be like, we don't feel like going to where we fed last night. So
here's my question. How do ducks know where they're going? Who takes the lead on that? For real, I literally think about that. Like, why do they go to one spot one day and all of a sudden they're bouncing to the next? Like, I don't know. It's like, is that a weird question?
No, not at all. I think that there's going to be different factors that are going to tell. Now, there's different ways to answer that question. First of all, one is you have the migratory routes and the migratory mindset of ducks. And there's ducks that are in the 4 flyways in America, right? You have the Pacific Flyway, the Mountain Flyway, the Central Flyway, the Mississippi Flyway, and the Atlantic Flyway. I think I added too many there. There might not be a mountain one, but you have the Pacific, Central,
mountain time zone you were thinking of.
Yeah, Mississippi and Atlantic.
Yeah.
So those birds leave the tundra, the breeding grounds, wherever they come from, up in northern Canada or up and above that, and they start to make their way down those routes. And then there's things that take over, ancestral part of their flight patterns, that they were in that group of birds last year, and ancestrally they know the routes that they're going to go.
So do you think they'll remember the exact water hole
100%.
To hit?
I believe they do.
I think you're right, which is crazy. That's crazy.
I believe
I think
it's
they hit up
ancestral.
4 different water holes per state or whatever, or a corn, specific cornfield,
Have you ever heard the word implanting used in hunting?
No.
And implanting is like, you implant ducks by, building a food source, or you might bring in a certain population of ducks into a general area because you've altered the land a little bit, or so, you imprint them. I said implanting, but imprinting is what you're doing to that species of bird or whatever animal you're trying to imprint. So the year after that, if they know that they went to that area, their GPS coordinates tell them, hey, we need to be back there because the food source was good, the habitat was good, the cover was good, the safety and security was good.
Right.
And I truly believe that when they leave that area and they come over that bush country of Canada and they get to northern Saskatchewan, northern Manitoba, northern Alberta, and they start to see the agriculture for the first time in the pea fields and the wheat fields and the oats and everything, you can go up there yourself in September and see what happens when those ducks see a decoy spread for the first time or see that agriculture for the first time. They are in there like flies on just they're going nuts.
Yeah.
They remembered it from the year before. They fly over all this land that means nothing to them, knowing that when they get over these trees, there it is. There's Disneyland for them. Then they leave there because the weather comes in and it pushes them down. So now those ducks over Montana are like, I'm looking for the river system, the Bighorn River. I'm looking for the Yellowstone River that is that part of Billings, that part of eastern Montana that holds a lot of mallards. They know that that's where they're going to go. And then when they leave there, they're like, our next stop, they can fly over it. What always confuses me is a lot of them migrate at night. So they see the sheen of that water in the moonlight or the starlight.
And they'll migrate on. Now, I think, was it maybe Keith Allen was saying that he thinks sometimes they migrate on a south wind?
Yeah, I know that I've been part of migration days with the south wind, where you're sitting there thinking, we're never going to see the ducks that are north of us because it's warm. We're getting warmer weather because the warm temperatures are being blown up from the south, from the Gulf area. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, and a lot of people associate that sound like a jet plane. As a duck hunter, you understand that that's a group of mallards losing it. They're losing their air, and they're coming from the heavens. They're coming from way up there on a migration day, which usually you would think would be on a north, northeast, northwest wind, and they're leaving a colder area to come to a little bit warmer area. Maybe it's below the snow line, but surely they're leaving for a reason. Their food source got covered up, or their water, their roost, or their day loafs have all froze.
Yep.
And you're like, what in the heck is going on? It's a south wind.
Totally.
So I wouldn't argue it. I think that most of them are going to get up in that jet stream with a north wind, and they're going to use that to their advantage so they don't have to burn so many calories. They're going to cover more ground a lot faster. But I've seen it. I've hunted. I've been successful on bluebird days with a south wind with new ducks coming to an area from the north.
Yep.
Coming from the north on a migration day with a south wind. So to answer your question, yeah, I think that ducks have the ability to remember their landmarks, to remember where they were the year before. And if the leader of that flock gets killed that day, a new one steps in and he or she is leading them on the, because remember, they got to fly all the way back up that deal too.
Right.
For the most part, most of them return to the breeding grounds.
It's funny though, some of the spots, like the reverse migration is a whole different ball game though. From around our area, I see ducks, in the spring, and early spring or whatever, and they're they're in spots that they would never be in the fall.
Yep.
And I think they might, I think some spots are, probably both ways. But so back to the imprinting, if they can positively imprint on a good spot, then they could probably negatively imprint on a spot. So say like there was this honey hole that was epic, and you found it, and you crushed them there like every day. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, like, can you like burn out a good spot like over time, over years? Most definitely.
I mean, I think that you've seen it in places to where, a few ducks might return to that spot, depending on the migration that year. But I also think that if there's a ton of pressure put on a spot, like too much pressure, I think you could ultimately alter the migration route and make them move over a little bit. I don't know if I'm 100% right. And I've talked to biologists and I've talked to people that are in the flyways that work this, but there is a reason why Oklahoma's so good now. I think they get a lot of the ducks that used to be a little bit further east there going to the Grand Prairie of Arkansas. Not to say that Arkansas still isn't riddled with mallards,
right?
But I would say that
it's just like more heavily hunted over the years.
And I don't think that they, and I also think a lot to do with that is the refuge system. As they move down those flyways, the government has gone in and secured these plots of land to where they can't be hunted. So I think that alters migration routes. I think the use of ethanol, the price of ethanol and the cost of ethanol with the corn production over the years, there's so much corn in the flyways now that it's easier for ducks and geese to stay in those colder temperatures for longer because they can sustain them. They have all the carbs. And if there's not a huge snowfall and they have open water, why would you leave?
Right.
Why would you leave? So I think there's a lot of things that alter the way.
And a lot of them don't, right?
No, a lot of ducks are staying in northern Missouri now that would have been down in Arkansas.
Right.
You go to Kansas. There's so much good waterfowl hunting in states to where you're like, Kansas would probably be good in November. We mauled their ass in freaking January this year. So I mean, there's different. It's a great question because it's something to where wonder why this place isn't as good this year. Well, there might be held up somewhere up north. The Mother Nature might not cooperate. The temperatures aren't getting low enough. Snowfall hasn't came. I assume it could be the same in skiing. I mean, relatively speaking, living in this area, somebody like Tom would be like, ski season's going to be awesome every year. We have the mountains, we have the Tahoe Basin, we have Heavenly, we have Mount Rose, we have North Star, we have all these badass ski resorts and but I've heard Tom talk about, dude, they're struggling. Last year, I think they were skiing in July.
Yeah,
I think they were. I don't know if I'm correct on that, but I think in June and almost 4th of July, some of them were still open.
July 4th.
This year, if there wasn't as much snow. Last year we had like 850 inches, broke records. This year the ski resorts opened way late. Right. They didn't have enough snow to even open and operate. So I think that depending on Mother Nature, everything can be altered. Everything can be, hey, Mount Rose is really good this year, but this ski resort's better this year because it got more of the precipitation.
Yep.
I think it's the same in the duck migration, is that there's different things that are altering that migration, both down and up. I've seen like, for example, the spring depredation snow goose season. There was parts of the country that were so hot for so long. Well, what does that do? That brings all the hunters, right? So now all of a sudden it's just been altered over a little bit, and now they've moved west or east, and now there's people that have to go in different places to where for many years it was like, hey, they're going to be here. Well, that's not the case anymore. And I think that had a lot to do with what you said in hunting pressure.
Right.
If you're always getting banged at every time you try to go into a false set of decoys, you thinking they're real geese, and those snow geese come out of the air, they're getting banged. Now, there is something to be said about that with the juvie population too. You know, spring snow goose season, and what I know about it is the best is when the juvies are too young to mate. So they're in no hurry to get back north. So the adults, their clock is ticking. They're horny. They're ready to go back and mate and get with their women.
Right.
So they take off and they go up. Well, those are educated geese. So the front part of that spring migration might be pretty tough. Even though you're seeing a lot of geese, they've been there, done that.
Right.
So then at the tail end of that, when those juvies are finally like, we had a hunt less than 10 days ago in North Dakota. We killed 211 snow geese, and it was May.
Wow.
Okay, and it was all juvies. They were coming up. They're still in North Dakota. They just killed them again yesterday up there. So,
wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of factors in that too. That where snow goose hunting used to be really good in this part of Missouri, well, it might have shifted to the west of there now because of the amount of pressure that part of Missouri got or that part of Iowa got or whatever. Now, that's not to say that every place is going to do that. Those snow geese might return to this certain location every time, every year. But I think you're right. I think that there's different arguments there, but hunting pressure has a lot to do. People that manage their land, manage their property, manage their holes. And then there's places like the Biomeda or the flooded timber of Arkansas that I've heard people like Keith or like Joe Wicker say, when they're in there, you can't shoot them out of there. They're coming there. When those rivers get out and those woods flood and those acorns are dropping and they have that security and that no predators and no eagles and hawks and nothing can see them in that flooded timber, they're going there.
Yeah.
They're there. You could shoot them for 30 days in a row if there's a lot of ducks in Arkansas.
Right.
So, that's what I love about it. Figuring them out. How can you master this sport? You can't master this sport.
Right.
You can't master bow. Randy Ulmer hasn't even mastered bow hunting. And he's the baddest ass, in my opinion, in Western big game there ever was. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. There's a lot of analyzing that goes into it, and there's a lot of game planning and prepping that goes into it. And I think that is what gets you fired up and what gets me fired up.
It does.
And that, I think that if you take that and you apply that to what we were saying with life and you set goals, I really think that success will come your way more consistently if you have that vision and that focus, right?
100%. Yeah.
You can't be successful without focus unless you're just a lucky son of a gun.
Yeah. A lot of people have luck, but
it's going to run out though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yeah. It's
going to run out. And did you really want to try to coyote hunt when you're here tomorrow?
I mean, I really would. I would love to.
So like,
I mean, not every day you have an opportunity.
All right. Paint that picture to me tomorrow. We're in Nevada. We're probably the second highest.
You can't hunt them at night now, or
you can hunt them at night.
We could potentially do that.
Well, it's going to be 80 degrees.
I'm not trying to, I think your brother maybe, he doesn't really like the hot weather.
Well, I mean, no predator hunter really does because
Right.
it just makes it uncomfortable when you're out there and when it's going to climb into the 80-degree temperature days.
Totally.
Coyotes don't need to eat a lot on those days. They're not going to be as active. Think about us. When it's warm like this, do you eat as much as you do when it's cold?
You look at your house pet, on a super hot day, he doesn't really like to eat,
Yeah. And that's how it is with coyotes, is that you got to pick your battles. And I think that if you go into a stand and you go in there and call and you show them your aces and you don't have the right elements on your side, then you're just smoking that place for the good day.
Right.
I'd rather look at the weather.
Oh, so you don't want me to blow out your
no, it's over for the season in my opinion. I mean,
Right.
we're going
totally.
You're talking about puppies out, it's May now.
Yeah.
They've been breeding and the puppies are coming out and they'll go through the summer raising their puppies and eating grasshoppers and bugs and not really relying on a lot of red meat right now, to whereas in the wintertime, a coyote has to eat 2 to 3 pounds of red meat a day to survive.
Right.
So they're chasing every bird, rabbit. That's why, you hit them with a woodpecker sound, they'll come running to it.
Mm-hmm.
Hit them with a dying rabbit or a dying fawn, they'll come running to it. So you tell me, if we go out tomorrow, how are you going to kill a coyote in the state of Nevada, knowing the population of coyotes that we have out here, knowing what you know about predator hunting? Give me your game plan for a predator hunt if we do go out tomorrow. How do you envision it going?
Well, I have to first maybe look at some. Well, first of all, I have no clue of the area, so you tell me a certain section of land. Maybe check out the topo and see what the wind's doing. I really like, if there's like cattle ranches, I think coyotes, kind of pile up in areas like that because there's always, dying cows and stuff like that to feed on. So if we could find an area like that, farm, cattle ranch that we have permission on or something like that, try to find a high ridge, get the wind in your face, cross your fingers, and start calling.
I like it all.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would not like in that predicament was when you said have the wind in your face.
Oh, because they do a circle, so maybe
side wind. If
wind.
there is a breeze, you
Yep.
probably myself, and I'm sure Clay would say this is Clay. Come over here for a second, please. Tom, will you grab Clay? I don't know if you can hear me.
But how do you know? Like, I guess you have an idea of where they might be coming from, right? I mean, like a lot of times they'll just come.
Yeah,
in
but
just like,
but with the population that we have, you don't want to get backdoored.
right.
He's going to smell you if he comes from behind you.
Right.
So if you set up with the side wind, left to right, you're going to have a better chance of that dog trying to get. So if it's going left to right and your downwind side's here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll let Clay talk about this, but he talks about putting the collar. And you're looking at a collar right here, this
Mm-hmm.
Mojo Double Trouble. With the use of that, you give yourself the advantage of putting that upwind of you to where when the coyote does circle downwind, it might be 50, 60, 70 yards upwind of you. And by the time he circles down, he's in a perfect place for you to smoke him.
Totally.
Right?
So I gotta so hunting on the East Coast, right? Super thick, right? Forest and stuff like that. If you were gonna hunt in a forest and you had maybe visibility of maybe 100 yards, let's say, and you had a left to right wind or whatever that might be, a crosswind, right? So where they might be bedded in a swamp or something like that. You're saying put the collar at the top end of your visual on where the upper wind, is, and then almost be looking kind of downwind or question mark?
You always want to keep your downwind side open. So knowing you're going to put your collar upwind of you, so they do come into you, but you always want to keep your downwind side open because
Open meaning like shooting lane?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Knowing that they're going to come downwind.
Yep.
If you sit at the far end and it's blocked off by your thick trees and stuff that you're talking about, you're never going to get a shot regardless.
Right. Yep.
So you want to keep that downwind side open to where if they do come downwind of that sound, you're still going to be able to get a shot off.
Totally. Okay.
If you block yourself off, then
right.
You'll never get a shot off.
Right. That makes sense. So you want to have the collar out far enough in front of you where you're not, in that wind. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
You don't want them to be downwind in the forest. You want them to be downwind in the opening to where if they do go downwind, you still have a chance to whistle or bark at them or lip smack to get them to stop for a shot.
Right, but at least you're going to see them.
At least you're going to see them.
Because in your sorry to cut you off, but
you've done it like 30 times today.
I know. Sorry, I have a short-term memory, so if I don't say the point that I'm thinking, I'm going to forget.
You off too. It hasn't worked.
See, there we go. I don't even know what the hell I was going to say.
No, you talk about that short wind side because it's kind of like the short side of a football field is you give yourself only so much room on that side of the field. Your chances of completing a pass over there, yeah, you can do it, but it's the other field's a lot more wide open for a play, right?
What percentage of the time would you say they come in, they circle downwind?
I think your mentality has to be 100%.
Yeah, huh?
I do.
Yeah, you just have one play.
I do.
It's hard to, I mean.
Yeah, right. Who knows, right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But because there's a lot of times.
I want a certain percentage, damn it.
There's a lot of times where you get up out of your stand and they do come from behind you or they circle behind you not knowing that and they got downwind of you behind you and you see their footsteps when you're walking out of the stand.
Totally.
So more often than not, coyotes are going to react to a call.
Yeah. Circle downwind.
And circle downwind.
Yeah.
They usually do come to a call, regardless if you see them or not. They're curious enough from the sound or the whatever you're trying to portray to call that dog in. They're going to react, regardless if you see them or not.
Right.
So you just got to give you the best chances.
Totally. So how far of a swing they might do? Is that depending on the terrain?
Very much.
Like, I mean, like the cover that they have, if they have like some thick cover, they can circle 50 yards downwind, you know, or are they going to go for a bigger loop? It just all depends on the terrain. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You kind of like got to just play the odds and give yourself up to the fact of when you sit down, and I don't know what it looks like in New Hampshire, but when we sit down out here, we're usually getting into an elevated vantage point, right? So we'll get up above them, whether it's a little draw or a ravine or a deeper canyon, rolling hills. We like to, you know, park on the backside of a hill, walk in really quiet. And quiet's important. It's just like turkey hunting. You're not slamming your doors. You're not doing all that stuff. And you really got to control your scent and your movement and all that with predators because their vision and their scent is top notch. I mean, they're a predator. So you got to give yourself the ability to where you're not going to see them all and you're not going to kill them all. But you have to give yourself that ability. If this one does this and he's in my range, like you get out there and you say, all right, we're killing coyotes that come from this range. And then you got to react to the rest. One might backdoor you. That's why you got a shotgun.
Yep.
If one gets downwind of you, you got to be experienced enough to not get your nerves all messed up and just start throwing lead at him. You got to let him be a coyote. He might be just prancing around out there. Clay's really good at barking or howling or, you know, bark stopping a coyote by sounding like a realistic other dog, challenging him in that area. Now that tells him, whoa, I just heard an animal dying. I have a chance to go get a free meal. I'm, you know, light-footing it around out here, prancing around because what if it's not real? And now all of a sudden, his mind goes, whoa, this other coyote's in my area.
I better get on it.
I better get on it. So now you start mixing in all those.
Okay, so you start seeing him coming downwind, and before he cuts your wind, you might.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Because once he cuts your wind, he's probably gone.
Right,
I mean,
and that's
you're
gone.
shooting it around a coyote.
Right.
So you got to put it in his mindset like, hey, I'm not the only top dog in this area. Somebody's moved in. Somebody's on my porch. And when you do that, when you get them, that's why predator hunting's so awesome with the vocalizations. Because now you can go from just the simple little playing an e-collar with a dying rabbit to where, yeah, a coyote's going to come in. Now you start mixing in talking to coyotes and challenge barks and challenge howls and invitational howls of a female, bringing another male in there during, you know, the February time frame when it's getting ready to be, you know, getting teamed up and paired up to go breed. And these guys have mastered the shotgunning of coyotes. With the use of the Mojo products, with the decoys, with the sounds, with the patience, but most importantly, the instincts, the ability to let a coyote be a coyote and hunt you. And that's what Keith Allen always talks about. I keep using Keith because, you know, he's taught me a lot in duck hunting is you got to let the ducks hunt you up. You got to let a turkey hunt you up. A guy that goes in the wood and he just keeps yelping at him. You're not letting that turkey hunt you up.
Right.
You got to be, and I'm terrible at that. And when you learn as a predator hunter to let that dog hunt you, you're not just going to take a shot at 400 yards. The vitals are that big of a coyote.
Right.
So I like the way Clay and these guys do it because they're smoking triples with shotguns.
That's awesome.
Literally triples and doubles all the time with shotguns because you're letting that dog hunt you. Let it be a coyote. Mess with his emotions. Mess with his instincts. Put yourself up there as like, hey, I'm way smarter than that coyote, even though this is your backyard. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to get you today because I'm going to outsmart you. It doesn't happen every time, but that's what your mindset has to be. You have to have an arsenal to be a successful. Like I just saw our good buddy in Dallas at NRA, Al Morris. This guy's won the worlds like 4 times. He wants to talk to us about a new competition. He's getting ready to start a different regions in the country. Sounds pretty cool. Don't know if it's up.
The world's in coyote calling?
Yeah.
And
which
elk,
is,
and
well, the elk.
Oh, really?
Elk calling is on the stage for judges.
Yeah. So how controversial is that? You know what I mean? Like someone judging you on how you call? Like
No. It's a hunting competition, and that's why it's controversial.
Gotcha.
And predator hunting is probably the only one there is. Duck calling is on a stage. Elk calling is on a stage.
Right.
Turkey calling competitions are on a stage. Coyote calling championships, they call it that, but really it's you have an area that you get to hunt for that year. Might be 5-state area. Mm-hmm. You leave at a certain time. You have to report back at a certain time, and whoever kills the most coyotes in that time. 18 hours or 24 hours, whatever it is the champion.
Right. That sounds like a blast.
And there's ways that you can tell.
Yeah, sounds like a super fun time.
Well, it's a blast. It can be fun, but it is controversial because now you're mixing in money and prizes for the execution of an animal, and you have to be careful on that. You still got to do it ethically. You can't cheat because there's ways around everything.
Oh, for sure.
But Al,
a cheater's going to cheat. Yeah. There's cheaters everywhere.
Al sits down and calls in 99% of his coyotes, if not 100, and he is a badass. And he always talks about letting the coyote be a coyote and hunt you up and not getting in a hurry. And I think the number one mistake, Clay can disapprove of this or not agree, is I think the number one mistake we make as hunters is we get in a hurry. And I get accused of it a lot personally in duck hunting of not calling the shot at the right time, because I want to see those ducks just be there and doing it the way that I've pictured them doing it. I don't need to kill them on the first pass just to say I killed a greenhead. And that's fine if you're like that. But with coyote hunting, I want to see that coyote. And we show you footage today. These guys have multiple numbers, like double digit 40s and 50s of coyotes jumping over rocks, jumping over sagebrush, and tearing the decoy and carrying it off, putting that in their mouth and carrying it off with them.
Mojo's like excited, that the product's working great, but also they're like, all right, dude, like number 50, come on, seriously, like,
exactly,
like. But I thought that was, I know that, what is it? I thought that was a camera. That would be an awesome idea.
No, that's
for
a cool
camera, like a motion sensor camera. If you're really getting dogs coming in and shredding that thing, it'd be really cool to get some POV. Oh yeah, you guys do.
But what I'm saying is that by trusting your instincts as a coyote hunter, and it takes experience, but if you just stop them at 400 yards and you want to become a marksman with a rifle, that's one thing. I'm not good enough with a rifle. Our buddy Alex Crosby is, but we still want to get them at 80 yards with a rifle, if not 10 yards with a shotgun. That's the ultimate to me, is to have that predator in your dish and shooting them from me to you.
Right.
That's what we could potentially do tomorrow, Lago, if it wasn't 90 out.
Yeah, I'm hearing you want to go tomorrow. I'm already sweating.
Why don't you take
I just want to experience some Western. I did,
We'll come out in October when it's good.
I know. October, I'm going to be,
Skiing,
that's our
snowboarding.
No, it's our duck season. We open up in October. I'll be balls to walls back home in New Hampshire.
Well, come September then. Before.
I can do September. Yep.
Why don't you take him tomorrow just to challenge yourself right up above Les's house? What if you get a dog coming in and Scotty Lago came to Nevada in May after he just got back from Iceland and Oklahoma, and he smokes a coyote?
I don't even necessarily. I just want to pick your brain and see how your setup is, and you go out with, a dude who's the best. You learn so much. Sure. You know what I mean? And I'd be stoked to kind of pick your brain and see it in person.
Yeah. I just got to figure out.
No pressure.
School, so
no, it's not pressure. I think it's a good idea. I think that you're the best time for you to come is where you could go spend days doing it, where you could get 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And the conditions and the temperatures are right, because nobody wants to be in a coyote stand when the temperatures start climbing in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
You want to stay in the 30s all day, maybe low 40s, and that makes those senses in the coyote's brain say, hey, we need to eat. It makes them more curious. It makes them more more territorial. They're hungrier. They have to do it. So, but then we've had days where you call 9 hours and you see one coyote. You just never know. It's hunting, and that's what's so awesome about. But one thing's for sure is we have them here. We have a lot of them here.
Yeah, you guys got a lot.
A lot here, and it's very easy to get access with the amount of public property that we have. But again, it's all about managing that public land. As far as you're not going to go in there. You don't want to go in there and call the same run that a guy just called the day before. So you got to really you got to strategize and say, hey, this is where we're going. We're going to get in a place to where we don't think has been called forever. It's a shot in the dark. You don't know if a guy was just there the day before.
Right.
Right. You look for tire tracks. You look for things that might tell you, hey, this place has had some pressure in them.
Yeah. So do you think that's another thing too? I mean, we can get super deep into it, but since we're on the topic real quick, say you call a coyote and you educate him, right? He gets downwind, smells you. You think it only takes maybe one time for that coyote to learn? Or do you think, maybe a couple different, bad experiences might educate him? Or I've heard people be like, yeah, you literally educate a coyote once and there goes your chances.
It's true, but depending on time of year, if we do get busted from a coyote, we won't go back in there in a week.
Right.
Unless it's late in the year when it's mating, that you can go in there and kill one of the mating pairs or something, and then come back in a couple days and do location howls and stuff like they're trying to find each other again.
Yep.
So that's a time to where you can hunt the same area a couple days apart.
Yep.
But if you get busted, we won't go back into that area for a minimum of a month.
Yep. Okay.
So even if they do get educated, there's a chance that in a month, if no one else goes in there and keeps educating, or calls them again, then they're more apt to react a month later, not a couple days later.
But that's the mentality that we have. Now, that's not to say that Clay goes in there and calls with Tom and you on Monday. I don't know that you're in there, so I'm in there on Tuesday. Another coyote's in that area that was 30 miles from the other day. You just never know what a coyote's doing or how far they're going to venture out.
Yeah, they have a huge range.
That's the good thing about coyote hunting, right? You go in one day and you put dying rabbit on and you seem to get run over by every coyote in the country. The next day you do the same thing and you never see a coyote.
Right.
So you're, what's the hell's going on, right? So that's a good thing to try to better yourself, better your skills to see if you can figure them out.
Totally.
And if a guy goes in there and it's a doggy day, you expect the coyotes to react if it's cold and you're calling with a dying rabbit and there's nothing going on, you have to change it up.
Right. Yeah. Someone's
on, right. And a lot of the times, especially with these e-callers, a lot of people don't know the vocalization or something else to do. So they just go
butcher it.
They just go hit number one, dying rabbit, call it for 10 minutes. Nothing comes in. They go down a mile down the road, hit it again, hit it again, hit it again.
Yep.
You go in there the next day and start doing that. You have to be able to adjust and start using vocalization, hand calling, doing something else to try to react. And then once you find something, then stick with that.
Yep.
Do you ever maybe applying it back to what you made your name in? You don't do that. You have a certain routine, or if you're behind 5 points, do you change that run or your routine, or is every routine the exact same for competition? Or have you said, wait, I got to make an adjustment here and put in a huge?
No, definitely. Yeah, you have to adapt.
You do. So you'll change it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to change it up. Say a lot of times you'll go for it. You'll have 2 runs, and the best run counts. So it would be nice in a perfect world. You go out and you do the best run you got, but you still have better. But this is the one you're most consistent with. You want to lay that one down just to have a good, good base, good score or whatever. But say everyone's throwing down. Say you're in the back of the pack, and then all of a sudden everyone just threw down hammers, and you're like, all right, well, I literally have to put in, throw my best run that I have right now on the first run. Do that, or I've even switched up my run, middle of my run. I messed up, you know what I mean, and I messed up on the first trick, didn't go as big as I wanted to, or whatever, and I'm like, all right, I just got docked super hard for this, so all right, here it goes, freestyle, like, got to throw a 10 here, 12 here, or whatever, and more or less just throwing up a Hail Mary.
But it does happen to where, I mean, has it worked out in your favor?
Oh, totally, yeah. I've landed tricks on accident.
Made stuff up on that.
Yeah. I landed tricks on accident plenty of times.
What is your very best trick that you were known for? That you'd land 90% of the time? Like, you just stick it every time?
Well, it just depends on how technical, you know what I mean? I could land a back 7, all day, you know what I mean?
Layman's terms, please.
Oh, so that is a spinning backside, so I'm regular, so I'll be spinning to the right, and I'll be doing a total of 2 different, 2 rotations, so spinning 2 times around.
So your feet are facing to the right. Your face is looking to the right, and you spin to the right.
Yep. So I have my left foot forward.
Yep.
Going off the jump, and I'm spinning to the right. And I do 1 360, which brings me down to regular, and then I do another one. So total of 720. So I can do that all day. So it depends on the technicality. And everyone could do a 360, 540. And
so it's 2 360s in the air and land it.
Yeah, exactly.
With your right foot forward or your left foot forward going down the ramp.
Yeah.
So was that trick on the snow invented when Tony Hawk first did it in the half pipe? Because he was the first to do a 720, right?
He was the first to do
the McTwist
900. He was probably the first to do a lot, but the one, the real famous moment there at X Games was the 900, which looks exactly like a 720, but since it's half pipe, you pretty much lose them 180 degrees. So, yeah.
So
we don't want to get into the math of this. It's really
no. I'm trying to figure out the math of it. Like I'm amazed that what's the biggest error that's done on a snowboard now? How many 360s? Is that the big?
It's getting crazy now. People are doing it's so funny. It's like double corks were like the big thing maybe 5 years ago or something like that. But now it's quadruple corks. Triple corks are like the standard, and now people are doing quadruple corks. So that's
what was
flips,
the trick called?
4 different axes.
What was the 2 360s called?
Just a 720.
A back 8, you called it?
A back 7.
Hey Tom, will you type in YouTube Scotty Lago back 7? I want to watch one of these live while we're. Can I bring it up on this
really
laptop?
Nothing to watch.
Whoa, This is pretty recent. You're on Lego boards here.
Yeah, so this is my real snow part. Like X Games holds a contest, like a video part contest. And so I got like fan favorite for this little edit or whatever.
Drivers.
So,
Dude, that is
whatever.
so sick, dude. I wish
A lot of fun boarding.
you guys look up. You know you can't see this, but just YouTube Scotty Lago and watch the videos. That one right there was called Real Snow Backcountry 2016 Scotty Lago.
Tom, look up. Oh, sorry.
And you can just see the technicality of these tricks he's doing, the cliffs he's jumping off of, the half pipe. Put it in a half pipe one, Tom. I want to see a little half pipe. But we were talking at lunch today, Lego. You don't think I'd have the balls to drop in on a 22-foot half pipe?
No.
I wouldn't?
I think you'd have the balls, but I mean,
you might.
I wouldn't.
highly suggest not to.
I wouldn't land it. What
no.
is it?
Actually,
straight up and down at the top of that?
No, it goes to, I don't know what, it's not quite at vert. You definitely got to ollie just a little bit.
You have to ollie in?
You have to, well, when you're riding the pipe, you have to ollie a little bit.
Hey, you want to hear some good news from one of our brothers? You ready for this, guys?
Yep, sure am.
Chad Mendez just announces it's game time, baby. I'm making my return against Miles Jury, UFC Fight Night 133, July 14th, 2018, at CenturyLink Arena in Boise, Idaho.
Nice.
Dang it. I want to go to his fight, and I'll be in Argentina right then, July 12th. And he's fighting July 14th. And I told him, do not schedule a fight, Mendez, if I'm not going to be able to be there.
How rude of him.
So he's fighting Miles Jury July 14th in CenturyLink Arena in Boise, Idaho. The return of Money Mendez, Team Alpha Male.
I'm so pumped. I can't wait.
Are you going to go to it live? I would if I were you.
I would love to. Maybe I could be in his corner just kind of misting. I'll be like the mister. And
the
like
fluffer?
when he wins.
Did you say you're a fluffer?
No, mister.
Mister?
But I will take credit for his win, for misting. I'd be like, dude, I just, big part of
They
his.
can hold on to you. You were too slippery.
So do you know who he's fighting? Do you know who
Yeah,
that
I
is?
just said Miles Jury.
Yeah,
He's
but
a
do you
little
know him?
stud. But
Yeah.
I'm predicting a first round knockout. Mendez will just knock this dude into another time zone.
Well, Chad's a beast.
Yeah.
You want to see a picture of who he's fighting?
Yeah. I want to get eyes on
That
this
guy's
guy.
a stud though. Miles Jury's a stud. We should let's try to call him real quick and just see if he answers.
I got the butterflies right now for him.
Knowing that
All right,
he's
here
getting
goes Lego.
He's going
Down the
to
pipe.
dropping in Scotty Lago.
Okay, what's this?
This is out in Laux in Switzerland. This was the European Open.
Okay.
Very slow conditions that day.
So what was that?
That was a backside 9. This
Gah!
is a frontside 10. Just a
That was weak.
basic cab 7. This is a frontside 9 nose, and that's my run.
So is that a solid run?
I was happy with it. It was a little slow that day, so I remember not going as big as I wanted to. But
All right, Tom, go. Since he brought it up, put in Scotty Lago falls on entry, or what was it?
oh, Scotty
X
Lago
Games?
Falls dropping in.
Falls dropping in, Tom.
Yeah, I did that at X Games. It was super embarrassing. It was funny. It was like trending on Twitter, like hashtag Let Scotty Drop, but they didn't. So
Here, that was Shaun White that they just showed.
All right, this is your drop in. You need to beat 98.01. Let's see.
Come on, Scott, you can do it, dude. Just
90
don't fall dropping in. Whatever you do.
98.01 you got to beat.
Oh,
Did you get .1?
you did it on purpose, didn't you?
No, I did not, dude. I just get too aggressive.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
Because you got a 98.01.
No.
Was that your last run of the deal?
No, I think there was 3. I think I actually got a. I think I pulled it together for my 3rd run and got on the podium on that one.
How many times have you beaten Shaun
least I'd like
White?
to
Have you
think.
beaten Shaun White in a straight up competition before?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, well, that happens. You get lucky once in a while.
No, I'll be
We've been-
honest. You're
Yeah.
as good as Shaun White. I mean, you're good. You're a world champion. Like, did you consistently beat him for a while, or was it?
No.
Was it lopsided?
No, it was 100% lopsided. He was definitely a better snowboarder, better competitor than me.
You know what you should.
But I've got lucky a few different times, and I beat him, a handful of times.
Did you ever challenge anybody in hacky sack?
No, I'm horrible at hacky sack.
Are you really? I think
Yeah.
you'd be good with your eye-hand coordination, your foot coordination, balance, and all that.
No, dude, my feet are locked into my board all season long. These things, and really get around.
What did you think
moving
of Shaun's performance here at this last Olympics?
Oh,
final run, unreal.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and
actually, everyone, like the top 7 spots were unbelievable.
Yeah.
The whole snowboard, the last Olympics was unbelievable.
Let me ask you this: as far as
it was good for snowboarding, you know.
You know, when you
put on a good show,
when you become that caliber of an athlete, you know, the top of the top in your game, do you get like, is his training area in like I remember a video they made of him. I think it was a Red Bull video where he was in Colorado and he was doing in the foam pit.
Yeah.
Do you remember that where he was doing all the training?
Out in Silverton, Colorado, is like this pretty much this big backcountry spot, this big bowl, and they avalanched it, set up dynamite, avalanched it to get more snow into the basin, built this pipe, and it was more or less to be cinematic, you know, to pretty much do a piece for him, and also obviously have an insane training ground. You know, it was, you know, it's a private pipe. Which again, that's another thing that kind of separates apart. Like I would never want to just ride by myself. You know, I'd want to ride with friends, to be there to push me, to get inspiration from. You know, but Shaun can, you know, motivate himself and ride by himself and do great things.
So my question is like, when you get to that level, are you afforded the opportunity to have better training facilities, and like Red Bull would bring him in like that, and that gives him the advantage of having a better, I mean, it's no excuse for not.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and now everyone has airbags, you know, and that's somewhat new relatively to the sport. You know, that's something where like, all right, I think I could do a double cork. You know, back in the day, it's like I learned all my doubles on snow. It's like, well, if I don't got it, then
it's gonna hurt like hell.
Yeah, but now like airbags are so great. You know, I love them. You know, it's like you have an idea, and like, all right, I'm gonna go, you know, hit it and work on it, and you know, see how it works.
And I thought I just messed something up right there. I was like, oh my gosh,
I heard you whispering over. Is it recording?
I'm panicking. I'm like, Tom, I'm waiting for Mendez to text me back because I want to see how he feels right now and see what his.
He's probably getting hit up a lot.
Do you think think he'll make a prediction if we get a hold of him?
No.
Yes, he will. Mendez, money. You don't think he'll make a prediction?
I don't know.
So he's at July 14th, so he's got...
God, I'm going to miss
2 months.
I begged him not to do it when I was in Argentina. Begged him. I don't think he has any say in that part of his career.
No, I don't think it's up to him setting the date.
You have to go watch it live, dude. That's going to be awesome. Traeger's going to be there and throw him a huge after party, a Traeger after party with all the food. It's going to be killer.
Nice.
And Idaho, what a better place to do it, dude. Instead of Vegas.
Yep.
I'd much rather be in Idaho.
Yep.
Little Boise after party. So what's in the future, man? Tell me a little bit what's going on. We've been talking over 3 hours, I think, already, and you know, you got a cool life, man. You've accomplished a lot. You've worked your ass off to achieve what you did in the extreme sports world. And I've always, just so you know, and I know you know this, but I've always had the utmost respect for ex-gamers and these extreme sport athletes, because a lot of times skateboarding was looked at as this, you know, this breaking the law and a bunch of punk kids that would go and that happens. And I think we've talked about the ethics and the etiquette of things. And if somebody didn't want you skateboarding on your property, you shouldn't skateboard on the property just because it was a cool grind or a cool jump or something. But the mentality of a skater was kind of like that. Remember back in the day, right. I'm older than you, but like the Dead Kennedys and all the punk movement and the Exploited and all these bands, they always had the Dead Kennedys had their A, and dead was the anarchy symbol, you know, like we're going to rise up against government. And I think,
mean, that's kind of how, you know, skating and snowboarding pretty much gets all their inspiration from skateboarding. You know, skating is like leads the way in style and kind of in our culture. You know, snowboarding follows that, and then skiing follows us. But it's definitely still part of our culture. You know, the more rebellious, you know. I don't even say rebellious or whatever. I don't know. I mean, just like free spirited, you know.
But I think that part of skateboarding got a bad rap for a while. Remember, skateboarding is not a crime. Bumper stickers and totally. Thrasher.
But
magazine.
it's still that's the whole scene's still very, very alive.
So we don't need to get into that about the ethics of if it sneaks onto private property because he wants to do a cool trick.
Right.
Fine, whatever.
Yeah, don't pigeonhole me here.
You know, I'm not going to pigeonhole you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to ask you that. But you know, the whole mentality of that sport, I think it's so like fulfilling to be able to say that you can do these tricks. There's not many human beings that can do these tricks, and maybe there are. I don't hang out at snow like half pipes. Is it becoming now like it is in different other, like Chase? You just met Chase. He's 7 years old. He's hitting fastballs off of 12-year-olders already.
Right.
He's with the bats and the technology and the ability to train and all that. Athletes are better today than they were back in the day. I'm not saying talented wise, but they have the ability to get stronger and fat. Right.
Definitely. So in the sport of snowboarding, the biggest thing is watching someone who's already done it, right? So like, the sport is still progressing. People are learning new tricks every year, right? So like what was the standard last year is going to be left in the past for next year. So once you see someone do it, that's half the battle, and you see how they do it and you know that it's actually possible and they're doing it consistently, that becomes a standard. So you got to step it up, and that's the biggest thing, And then also, you have airbags, and you have there's a lot of good riders out, nowadays. And they're definitely
and not just physically being there, but technology as far as YouTube. Any kid at 5 years old can get in and go, "Oh, there's Scotty Lago. Oh, how does he do that? Oh, okay."
Right, totally.
And
so you can literally look it up, and and I'm a firm believer that if you can see it in your head and you can see yourself doing it, then you can do it, on snow. So that's like what I've kind of lived by. If you can't see it in your head and you want to do this trick, it's like, well, it's not going to happen. You have to see yourself physically doing it. You see yourself like third party looking at yourself doing it, like from like maybe like, for example, like you're like a camera guy looking at yourself doing it, and then you have to see yourself doing it like in real time, how you would, how you see it in the air,
Well, that's exactly what to go back to what you just said, why you wanted to go coyote hunting tomorrow, so you could visualize and see how I do stuff.
Totally, yeah, and I can wrap my head around it too a little bit, because like still like I can read about that stuff, you know what I mean, and like what you guys told me here with the crosswind, that made it made more sense to me, but like I was kind of confused with like it's like there's a lot of factors involved, and then.
But that's what makes you want to go out and become proficient at it.
Totally.
And that's the thing about, we talk about the art of visualization a ton here. If you can teach somebody how important visualization is, and that it really is a key component in training and putting yourself in a better position to be successful, it works. I take it to my grave saying that visualization, no matter what you're doing, if you're getting ready to go deliver a speech and you can visualize yourself up there and that huge crowd out there and everybody is, all eyeballs on you. If you can visualize yourself and prepare for that,
right,
it makes you go in there going, hey, I got the confidence.
See yourself succeeding in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like see yourself, like envision yourself like, whatever, with like a stack of mallards, or the mallards doing it right, or on the podium, you know what I mean? I actually, like, as cheesy as it is, I believe in like inspiration boards too. And not to be all like hocus pocus or anything, but like if you see, like you put in, like I put like my inspirations up, like people who inspire me and what they've done, and I'll like write down stuff, of like how I want, my goals. I pretty much put my goals up on the board, and you wake up and you look at that and you stare at that all day. That's almost just like, if anything, it's just a constant reminder of like, all right, this is where I want to be. You know what I mean? And to almost not get distracted and always be kind of working towards that goal. I like it. I like working towards the goal. It's fun.
It works.
And so.
Well, it's one of those things to where, and I assume that I will be on that inspiration board, or the Clay's coyote strategies.
Yeah, it's a small picture, but you're up there. Yeah, it's like you got to get the binos out, but
you got magnifying glass. I think that's Chad Belding.
Yeah.
No, that's not him. Not him. Yeah, I think visualization is huge in that, and it brings me back, because like I said, as hunters you fail a lot, and if you can learn to take something out of each hunt, learn something, become a sponge, to where you don't fail necessarily just because you don't get that kill, but you can say, man, if I would have just did this a little bit better in big game hunting, that application, or fishing, if I'd have used match the hatch a little bit better, in duck hunting, if I'd have used the jerk string because the wind died down, the water looked like cement, and I didn't have that chocolate milk effect because real ducks stir up the sediments and the vegetation under the water, and it just looks real dirty and muddy when they're swimming around in there. So if you teach yourself that and you visualize it or learn something every day, then every hunt's a success. Every day's a success. You might go and do something, like a social activity, and you're exhausted and you don't want to be there, but that if you go and you approach it the right way, that a door can open. You might not have the most fun that you've ever had in your life. It might not be a musician that you want to watch, but if you go there with open arms and an open mind of say, hey, I'm willing to accept this. I want to be a part of this. That's how I've seen in business and in life and success. Doors open that way. Mm-hmm. It's the people that are just like, oh, I'm going to get on my keyboard with my fake name and tell Scotty Lago he's a piece of what right. because he's a NRA member. That there's no place for that.
Right.
So I think that the mentality I think that there's a common mentality, Lago, in successful individuals. I truly do. I think that if you talk to people that are successful, I think that they have a little bit of the same mentality. It might not be the exact, we don't have all the same beliefs. I'm not saying that by any means, mm-hmm. but the successful people that I know have a lot of the same thinking particles in that mentality of waking up early, training, taking care of myself, taking care of my friends and family, different things, and the approach, the work ethic and all that comes into it. You're going to find some of those attributes in every successful person. Yep. Some of them get lucky, but even the ones that have gotten lucky, that have turned it into more success, the harder you work, the luckier you get. You create your own luck.
Right.
You got to work hard.
Yep.
And you did. You literally, I wouldn't say you conquered snowboarding, but you were at the top.
You can never conquer snowboarding or hunting.
You know what? When you talk about your story kind of, and I don't know Shaun's story 100%, but I think that, didn't he drop out of high school and lived in a van with his mom and dad, and they took him around to ski resorts and stuff when he was 12 years old, and he was skateboarding and doing competitions and
yep.
just you started.
I don't know about the dropping out of high school. That might have been me that you're getting that story.
Well, he was young.
I actually never went to high school.
You never did?
No, never went to high school.
Really?
I have an 8th grade education, which is crazy.
You only have an 8th grade education?
Yeah, somehow I fooled my parents.
Can you spell?
SPEAL, spell.
Yeah, that the stories have some similarities. If I remember Shaun's story right, I think that he was traveling around the world, and his whole family lived out of
yep.
a van or something,
yep.
or some
totally.
weird thing.
Kathy and Roger, and they would bounce around to Big Bear and Mammoth, and had the support of his parents. Without the support of your parents at a young age, you don't have a chance. So.
So did your mom and dad get pissed when you said, I'm not going to high school?
No, I think they believed in me. They really did. You know what I mean? I was so focused. Essentially I had no backup plan because I could never see snowboarding was my life. You know what I mean? And I only saw one way. I wanted to be professional. I wanted to get better. I was already missing so much school traveling. I was starting to kind of find my way in snowboarding. And, I was kind of getting homeschooled at that. I tried doing some homeschooling. I was like, all right, I'm going to take a month off, and, go out to Mammoth, and stay with my buddy and get better there, which is hilarious to think about. But, I think they just believed in me or they hoped at least that,
Did it pay off in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? Why is your life so fulfilling to you? What has made you're 30, the last 14 years since you've turned pro, and that's about when you're in middle school. So when you're in 8th grade, you're 14. So when you turned pro, it's pretty much the time you were leaving public education. What has made the last 14 years so fulfilling? What has fulfilled Scotty Lago?
That's a deep question.
Is it too deep today, Scotty Lago?
Fulfilling. I guess if I look back at what I wanted to achieve when I was a kid, I achieved it. But I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that one.
Did you know?
I don't know if that's because of my 8th grade education or if that's because it's super deep.
No, I think it's deep. I think it's deep to the point to where, is it the medals? Is it the friendships? Is it the memories? Is it the travel? Is it meeting Bridget? Is it knowing that your family believed in you and you followed through? And
all of that, it's all of that, from staying on the right path to not going down literally, because snowboarding, not doing, not getting caught up in drugs, is a success for me. You know what I mean? Having a successful career, having the respect of my peers, still doing it now professionally at 30. That's stuff that I'm happy with. and it's fulfilling. You know, that stuff's fulfilling.
When did you know? Like, what was that point in your career to where you're like, I'm going to be one of the best snowboarders in the world? Was there a turning point to where did you hit a certain trick or win a certain competition to where
you don't realize it at the time.
You don't, right?
You know,
that's where I was going with that.
Yeah, you're just so in the moment, and you're, you know, everything is flowing so easy, and everything seems so easy that it's like, I feel like some, you know, and I see this in other snowboarders. You know, it's like they don't almost realize that they're the best. You know, because in snowboarding and skating and a lot of sports, it's, you know, being at the pinnacle is sometimes short-lived, you know what I mean? And, you know, a lot of times people don't realize that they're actually on top, you know, in a weird way, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. But that shows the humility that, like, you've always had the same mentality. Ever since I've met you, I'm sure that I don't think that there was a point in your professional career to where you stopped to think enough to develop some kind of attitude or ego that there's no way that you'd have the success that you're having right now if you turned into an asshole for being so good at it.
That's it. The people with the egos, like you see that in snowboarding sometimes. It's like they roll around. It's like they act like they're better than you. It's like, dude, that's so ridiculous. You know, it's because you're good on a snowboard. You put in the time. You've got, you know what I mean. You have, you know, the right opportunities, you know, given to you. You know, you had the money enough to you know, and the family to help you at a young age, to be cocky about, you know, something like that where you're just good at snowboarding. I mean,
like shooting a deer with a bow that goes 400 feet a second from a tree stand that you welded and fabricated and cut above a deer. I mean, there's no room for ego, right?
Right. Yeah.
There just isn't.
Right. It's just you're just another freaking person. You know, there's nothing that, you know.
Any regrets?
I don't know.
Any changes you'd have made to the last 15 years since you strapped on and became a professional snowboarder? Any regrets at all?
Yeah, where do I start? I mean, you know, I have regrets. Nothing serious, you know what I mean? But look back, I'm like, all right, maybe mindset going into competition. I still haven't mastered it, you know what I mean? Like, still, I even do like local contests, you know, I still get you know, butterflies and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No regrets. You can't think of any regrets. That's pretty stout. What about with sponsors? Do you wish you would have rode for another board company? Are you happy with the way you made money, the sponsors? Are you happy with the way you represented these companies? Any regrets there at all?
I am. I was always stoked with the companies that I align myself with. I kind of took like there was a point when I was younger that I could have rode for Forum and the Forum Youngbloods, and I had a choice between Forum Youngbloods and Flow, which were completely two opposites. Like Flow was considered really not too cool. Forum Youngbloods was like kind of like the coolest way to snowboard, and I chose to, you know, ride for Flow. Who wasn't the coolest brand at the time. They, you know, eventually gained traction and you know, ended up being pretty legit, but I just wanted my riding to speak for itself, not the you know, the company that I rode for or whatever. But I was always super happy with Flow, for example, and for all the brands that I've rode for.
And to put it in a nutshell, you dropped out of school in 8th grade, became an Olympic medalist, became an X Games champion, became one of the top snowboarders of your time. Well, I mean, when you were competing, there's no doubt you're one of the best out there, consistently winning, consistently catching the biggest air. And you have your nice little quaint piece of land up in New Hampshire that you're happy as hell to be in. Your lovely wife, Bridget.
Yep.
Your dog, Camo.
Yeah.
You want another lab, but you're scared of what Bridget will say to you if you get it. You love being in the woods. You love traveling. You love hunting. You love conservation. You support the Second Amendment. You support the NRA. You have a lot of friends that you've met along the way that you probably go through your contact list or your text messaging, and you're just like, holy smokes, man, I've met a lot of people in this awesome 30 years. My hat's off to you, brother. I'm glad you're a friend of mine. I'm glad we met at Kansas. I give it up to Chris Cummings for bringing us together.
I know,
and that just shows you that we preach this. Since the beginning of Banded, we've preached that, maybe preach is the wrong word, but hunting and is the common denominator that brings so many different walks of life together.
Totally.
And you get to enjoy each other's company, whether it's one day in the duck blind or you establish a lifelong friendship over it like we have and like you have with Keith, and you have snowboarding friends and you have big game friends, you have archery friends and duck hunting friends and worker out friends and friends that I don't even know about. I don't know what you do on a daily basis and you don't know what I do on a daily basis, but when we're together, we have that common thread of hunting that we know we can look at each other and go, let's get in the blind, let's go get on a coyote stand, we're gonna have fun today. And we can have a conversation like we just did for the last almost 4 hours. Yep. And I think that that's what the mentality of hunters are, is that we can get, when we're at hunting camp or throughout the off season, we're thinking about hunting camp, is because of the relationships like this. And that's why hunting is so fulfilling to me.
Yeah, it's a brotherhood. You know what I mean? It's like, you know it's special when someone else hunts. It's like boom already. You know, it's like, yeah. I mean, what you said, you nailed it.
Yeah,
you nailed it.
And that's exactly where I'm sitting right now, is knowing that it's May. You're getting ready to go to the northeastern part of the country where you live. You're going to hunt turkeys in New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine. I'm jealous. I'm done hunting until July when we go to Argentina. And now we get to talk throughout the entire summer, September, about our trips coming up this fall. And that's what gets me excited. Like, where are we going to be in the fall? Where are we going to get to cut our teeth again together?
Yep.
When are we going to get to call some geese together? Remember when we were in Colorado that day and you shot that band? You were competing in the X Games and said, hey, I'm done with the X Games. You got your hunts. And I just happened to be there hunting geese with Travis and Stillwater on the Front Range.
That was awesome.
You jumped in the blind, you kill a freaking band with us, and I was like, what a lucky bastard. But that's what it is, and I appreciate you being here. And Lago Snowboards, Scotty Lago's got some awesome things going on with his hunting career, his snowboard company. He has a lot of things on the horizon with apparel, his live events that he's bringing to ski resorts and mountains across the country and Canada. And I'm proud to call him a friend. If you guys want to look him up, please do, because just watching his snowboarding videos are as entertaining as it gets. And to know the guts and balls that this dude has, I don't think I could ever get there. But Scotty, you the man. I appreciate you being here. Is there anything that you want to say to conclude this?
Dude, thanks so much for having me here. I'm honored to that you reached out to have me on your podcast, and we casually talked for 4 hours. So I don't know if this is going to go into one podcast, but this is great.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
So I just appreciate you and what you do for for the sport and considering me a friend. So.
Nope, you're the man, brother. Appreciate you. Now's the time when Tom plays Leith Lofton, a.k.a. Haas, singing us out with The Money's All Gone. Lago, we have a song here called What You Gonna Do When the Money's All Gone, and that's what we just talked about literally for 4 hours, is that if you're chasing money, it's not good. You need to chase passion and love what you do, brother. I appreciate you. I'm glad to call you a friend. Congratulations on an awesome snowboarding career, and good luck in the future. Can't wait to get back in the field with you, my man.
Amen.
That's it. I'm Chad Belding. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast. Tom, go ahead and play a little bit of that Leith Lofton.
Say life on earth won't last that long.